Good evening and welcome to The Real Study with your hosts, Mr. Snidbits,
Welcome back to A Real Study.
Black Girl Marvel,
But I didn't know what I was getting myself into.
Mr. Marvelite,
not knowing anything about the film.
all the movie things,
And like I was locked in right away.
the pre-review with Super Gummy Guru,
Preview.
and me, the Real Study movie voice guy. Let's go to the poster wall.
And good evening and welcome to The Real Study. I am Mr. Snidbits. As always, to my left is Black Girl Marvel and Mr. Marvelite. And we are live and back. We're back. And we're going to move
Good
over
evening.
to
We
the
are
drive-in.
back.
And since
Yes,
we
we
are
are.
back, I'm hearing something, but that's okay.
Well, we're not all back.
We're not all back. Apparently, all the movie things is not going to make it tonight, and that's okay. He had a rough week, and we do hope
We
you
wish him
guys
the
can
best.
Go wish him the best, absolutely,
Oh
because
my gosh.
he is struggling. So yeah, we will see him next week, which
Gonna
I
get a
think
break.
we're going to get some more, variety of films. Hello,
There needs to be a-
Miranda. Welcome,
It
and
needs to
thank
be a
you.
picture of him.
Hey, Miranda.
There needs to be a picture of him, like where his name is. There should be a picture.
There was, and it's not on here for some reason, and now I can't
Oh.
add it. It's too late. Okay.
It's fine. Hi, Ray.
Hey Ray,
Hi,
hey
Muncie.
Muncie,
Hey, Miranda, Muncie.
and Hannah is here.
Anna
Ayana.
Miranda.
I was literally about to say, hey, Black Girl Marvel.
Hi.
And then thank
I'm
you.
in a weird mood tonight. Be prepared.
No, I'm in a weird mood too, so that works out.
I'm
really
here
well.
for it.
Zep just gave us a follow just before the show. Thank you for the follow, Zep.
Oh, thanks, Zep.
Let's go back over to the poster wall because we kind of skipped past that just to say hello. We are going to be reviewing a couple of Batman movies tonight as well as The Kingsman. So we are doing another comic book night, but considering the panel, it makes sense. So we'll be doing The Batman by Matt Reeves, starring Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz, as well as Jeffrey Wright, Colin Firth, Paul Dano, and many others, because it's actually got a stacked cast, which I really liked.
Colin Farrell.
Did I say Farrell?
You said Firth.
Oh, because I watched The Kingsman, which made me think of
Mhm.
Colin Firth. So
I know.
then we've got...
He's still amazing though. So
Oh,
you know,
yeah,
I'm not-
both are great. Mask of the Phantasm is the other movie. We'll be doing an animated movie. La loves animated movies, so we'll always be trying to put those in there. Not that we don't,
Yay.
but she champions those.
I'm
And then
obsessed.
The Kingsman, which is the third film in the Kingsman series, the prequel to the other two films. And then in a couple of weeks, either next week or a couple of weeks, whenever they release this darn film digitally, we will be reviewing Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. But tonight...
That's a lot of movies. It's a joke. It's everything, everywhere.
Oh,
all
yeah.
over.
You got me, see?
Never mind.
Yeah. No, it's okay. It felt, and I don't even have my jokes thing, keyed up. So that's
Boom,
okay.
boom.
That said, let's talk about
did
the Batman.
Ooh.
Okay, so let's just start right with Law. What is your initial
Yes.
impression of the Batman?
My initial impression of the Batman is this is the greatest Batman movie ever created. That's my initial impression. I enjoyed every aspect of this film. I enjoyed that it like I always say when I talk about this movie, like 10 minutes of like exposition could be taken out of this movie, and it doesn't have to be like 3 hours because there were a lot of like lingering shots. Like watching him walk to the bike. It's just like, Lord, we don't need to watch him walk to the bike. It's like, and then it's like a lot of like, there's a lot of times where they try to mirror like when we first see him walk in with Lieutenant Gordon, like that scene, and then it's another scene where like he's bringing Falcone out, and it's like the same type of scene, and it's like that's cute, but they're very long. It's like I get what you're doing, but we can shave some seconds off of that. The movie didn't have to be like 3 hours, but I understand it. It's like probably Matt Reeves' vision. This is how he wants it, and Warner Brothers finally gave a director carte blanche to just do what they want to do. So I can't be too mad about that. Because if not, it probably wouldn't have been as good, or had the elements that he had. So for me, I love this film. It gave me everything I need. It didn't rush the Bruce Wayne story. It didn't rush the Batman story, because they are two separate entities essentially. So it gave me just a little bit. It kind of reminded me of Batman versus Superman when everybody was very mad at what's his name, Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, and they were like, but he's not Lex because he has hair. But I'm like, he's Alexander right now. If they probably would have did better, he would eventually, you know what I mean? He would eventually became. So for me in this movie, he's finding himself not only as Batman but also trying to figure out the persona of Bruce Wayne. You know what I mean? Because he's only 2 years in this. I have so much more to say about this film, but initial reactions is I thoroughly enjoyed this film. I feel like it's one of the greatest. It's what I needed from a Batman film. I've seen probably every Batman live action, and because of the real study, I've even seen the Adam West. that hullabaloo. I've seen that. So I've pretty much probably seen like every Batman movie probably that has ever graced this world, give or take maybe one, but I don't think so. I've seen them all. I've seen back into the Keatons. It's probably some I haven't seen, I'm sure, but I've seen at least every like voice actors be Batman, like live action, like TV shows. I've seen
All the animated.
all the animated.
So like Year One, Under the Red
Year
Hood,
One, Under the Red Hood,
Batman
I own them.
Beyond, like all
Batman
of it.
Beyond. I own them all. I've seen the animated series. Like
Those are some of my
immersed
favorites. Like those are
I've
my favorites.
immersed myself into some Batman to the point where I'm actually thinking about going back and rewatching the Batman series.
No, yeah, the animated series. After watching Phantasm, I feel the same way.
Yeah.
I'm right there with
The
you.
animated series, I was thinking about going back and like partaking in that again.
Right. And then doing Batman Beyond right after, and then like really rolling with it.
Yeah, like really rolling with it because like I was a child and I remember some elements, but some elements I don't. But I do remember watching these growing up, so I have a very, very deep account of Batman in my brain. And this just gave me a fresh take, something new, something to look forward to in Batman. Because usually I'm not looking forward because they rush everything with him. They make it seem like he's amazing from the beginning and he has no room to grow. And with this character, he has room to grow. So,
Mr. Marvelite. No, you're good.
So much to say.
Mr. Marvelite, your first impressions of the Batman.
Well, first of all, I would like to thank everyone for having me back as actress Rachel Style, as that's what's on my nameplate. On
Oh no, it does say that, doesn't it?
I heard nothing Lala said because that's the only thing I've been thinking for like the last few moments. But
hold
I
on,
promise you, I'm not going to repeat everything that she says.
We're gonna do that.
You
Look
are,
at that.
Because
I have a guess.
You're gonna repeat everything I said, which is cool. But go ahead.
You're back.
Actually, I'm not. Hold on. I don't. Oh, there we go. Yeah, and I'm a host, not a guest. Okay, that's awesome. Thank you for having me back. I didn't know. Like, man, I just got back on the show. That's awesome.
You were gone too long. It's fine though.
I have to completely agree with pretty much everything that Lala said. I think the one thing that she said that kind of struck me, like, and it was the thing that was striking me that I wanted to talk about was when he had that journal and he had the Gotham, like basically year 2, and I was thinking about when the DC fandom like event happened, and they were talking about like the Batman animated series prequel basically, and then you had this movie mentioned, and it's interesting how instead of doing an origin story, we're just getting the Batman. He's established as the Batman, but we've got him, really still figuring out the ropes, and I liked that because at the end of this movie, I realized this is not peak Batman in the sense of what we expect our Dark Knight to be as the detective. He was very manipulated by the Riddler, and I was okay with that because it showed that even though he was very astute and he was leagues above the police, he still had a lot to learn, and he gathered it quickly. But that was the thing, like Bruce Wayne's evolution in this film was something that we actually got to see a little bit in a movie that we're going to be talking about in a minute with Mask of the Phantasm, where Bruce is trying to understand what he is meant to be. And the concept of, and I thought it was very interesting, like considering the two movies,
right? Watching these two movies,
the concept of vengeance is very, very strong because we see a Bruce Wayne in the Batman that is vengeance and learns that he must be more than vengeance, and you also see in the Mask of the Phantasm of Bruce Wayne that is not vengeance. He's trying to be justice, and you see what vengeance can lead you to. And I for that I think it, it's kind of like it was like meant to be. Um, this movie, if you've watched it only once, and I don't understand if you've watched this film how you would not watch it more than once. I don't care how long it is. I feel like the pacing is perfect because on a second viewing, you are going to catch more things than you
Mhm.
ever like realize. Like even that slow stuff, like the slowly walking to the motorcycle or the long like cut scenes of like Selena running to the cab or all those things. You sit there and you're like, how was I so stupid not to realize but they were hinting at something and I didn't get it. And then you sit there and you realize Batman didn't even get it. And you're kind of like coming into terms with that as you're going. I did see how there was mentioned in the chat about the concern about the chemistry between Batman and Selena Kyle, and I think that that's not so much of an issue as this is their first interaction with each other, and I could imagine with them like parting ways at the end that we're going to find more development. This wasn't just the Catwoman story with Batman. This was like the seed that is planted for if this becomes a franchise to really kind of foster that, and it's that building blocks. We didn't get a full story with the relationship of the two. We just got the hints at it, and I was good with that. And I feel like we did get some like background for Selena Kyle in this. Um, they changed a lot of things that we
Mhm.
assumed of the characters. Uh,
Even like Thomas
the
Wayne got
the
changed
Thomas
dramatically.
Wayne and Martha Wayne, with her being in Arkham, like I don't remember
Well,
that in anything.
that's New 52. That's
Right.
Mhm.
alternate Flash, Flash point universe stuff where
Mhm.
they have dabbled in it, but not in like main timeline type stuff. So
But
like,
it's
Yeah.
nice.
but it's
It's
not
nice
something
if you
we've had in the
consider it.
movies. So
We
Yeah,
have not really had a
but the whole thing with
Batman.
Thomas Wayne is Court of Owls. I think that's what they were hinting at was Court
that's
of
what it
Owls
felt like to
because
me too.
Yeah.
because his character is a little darker
Right.
in that time.
And has
But continue.
that background, right?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
background. Yeah.
And I think for a movies basis, you really have not gotten much variation when it comes to
Oh my
the
God, shot in
Bruce
the
Wayne
alley.
story. This is the first time we're actually getting a different an
Yes.
iteration of Batman, which I thought was great because
Well, this is
you know
the Batman, much like the animated
right.
series. The Batman. It's a very like rough and
Mhm.
tumble style show. Or I actually hope they eventually do a live action Batman. I'm sorry, Batman Brave and the Bold live action. It would be akin to like that Adam West, but you would have people like Patrick Warburton in it and these over the top ridiculous actors that would bring that gravitas to the comedy of it all.
Right.
So I think they did a good job of bringing the Batman, a different vengeful Batman, to the screen.
Yes.
Because we've had many Batman, and we always assume, people talk about it. There's one, and it's like, nah, not really. Hey, my brother, Johnster he just rated us with him
Awesome.
from his viewing of let's see, he was playing Elden Ring, I believe, which is kind of ubiquitous right now. Everybody's playing that. Thank you for the raid. That said,
So
you had a little bit more to say, Mr. Marvel. I didn't mean to jump
yeah,
in.
so it was also interesting because with Batman with the mask, and he had this Robert Pattinson had this brooding look at all times, but you could pick up the subtle expressions about like it was very much of building the relationship with Alfred, which I thought was very interesting. Building
Mhm.
a relationship with Gordon, which we got a lot of that in the animated series with Gordon and Batman really having each other's backs, but but for but for this, I feel like this has been the best relationship of Batman and Gordon that we've seen for a while, and I'm a big fan of the Nolan trilogy, but like you have this concept of where um Gordon he's not where he needs to be yet, which I was glad about that because we don't need a guy that just is just commissioner and he's making all the shots. You see the tension of Gordon allowing
Mhm.
Batman to be in these places. You see this idea, and you have like the duality of the one cop who wants to keep Batman from going into the crime scene, but at the same time they're in the funeral. They're at the funeral, and he's like waving at Bruce Wayne.
And loves and
Uh,
respects
Yeah.
him.
Loves.
Right.
Yeah.
exactly,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and, and Bruce is giving him the exact same look he was giving him as Batman. Like it's not
Mhm.
even like there are so many different things, and then like the the personal investment because of the kid being orphaned, or well, not even orphaned. He just lost his father, and Bruce understanding that concept. He's a menacing, slow approaching Batman because he's still trying to find his place as this Cape Crusader. I just I can't say enough good things. I've watched this movie way more than I should have in the last couple days.
And this is a
And
Marvel person, and not
yeah,
not a
absolutely.
Marvel person, kind of in my opinion, the Marvel person. But that's just that's my bias, just from seeing behind the scenes and seeing you and everything. That doesn't mean that Black Girl Marvel isn't also the Marvel person, but she
I
is.
didn't feel hurt.
Yeah,
I didn't feel
very
hurt at all.
much.
I'm a vast fandom.
Right. You're like me.
across the
We're
board.
I'm
both like
obsessive
very
compulsive
yeah,
Marvel.
Right.
That's
Yeah, across the board.
And we know that.
I
And
do.
I just wanted
I
to
do
throw
want to
that
say.
respect. So
I do just want to say before we get to your Snitty, before we get to your initial, I just want to say to kind of like just touch on the relationship between Catwoman and Batman or whatever, because Mr. Marvel like kind of touched on it. I just want to say I like the awkward weirdness because we were talking about this in the chat too. I like the awkward weirdness because like this is not only year 2 of him being Batman, this is also the anniversary of his parents' death, and it's probably something that he tries not to think about ever. So you can tell that even though he's 30, he hasn't adjusted to what has happened to him. And so I don't think dating girls or talking to girls was a thing for him. Like I think even though he grew up in this mansion, I don't think he had friends that came over for lunch and let's go out to parties and let's go to the movies and things like that. So that human interaction, you can see it better in Batman than you can in Bruce Wayne.
and you
Right?
basically say he has no.
He
There
has
is no Bruce
no,
Wayne in this movie, really. When
you
you think
know,
of,
and
he's
so
reclusive.
it's
He doesn't come out.
extremely. And so like I feel like the ladies man, the playboy billionaire in which we see when he's in like his 40s 50s, I think that's when he figures out like, okay, I gotta wear this mask so I can
he
do
uses
things.
both Bruce Wayne and Wayne Enterprises as tools for Batman at that point.
Right, that's what
Right,
I'm saying.
right.
So it's like I think
In this movie, he doesn't care.
he doesn't care. Like he doesn't care. And I think it's like I love seeing that, and I love that. Like I think that part of him has not figured out how he can move around her, because when you look at their dynamics, Catwoman is so much more like she's damaged in her own way, just like him, but she's more confident in her damage.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? She's like, I know I'm damaged, but like I'm gonna do what I need to do, and I'm gonna figure out what I need to figure out. And he's more so seated in his damage. He doesn't know how to move in it. She can move in hers.
Okay.
She's like she's a little bit more adjusted in him, especially when it comes to people and interactions because of the life that she leads. You know what I mean? But like I said, she's damaged in other ways. But I just
Well,
want to
yeah,
touch on that.
she was kind of rejected, and so being rejected, she didn't want. I'm sorry, Snitty, go ahead and talk. We can go forever. Like,
It's been a while. I'm glad to hear you guys chatting about it because you guys are excited, and I didn't want to stop the excitement. So don't worry
I've
about
been
it.
waiting 8 years
Yeah,
to
yeah,
talk about
don't-
this movie, but go ahead. Go ahead.
The excitement is important, and I don't want to kill that. So don't worry about it. Especially since I might have some naysays to throw in there, and I didn't.
I
wanna,
love it.
I didn't
oh,
want to.
don't worry, we'll destroy them. Go ahead.
No, it's fine.
Yes, exactly.
So, as an initial impression, I loved the intro to the film. It brought me in solid. Pattinson's killing it. Everybody's killing it. And like Mickey said on his TikTok, I have a new favorite Batmobile now. Like, there's no doubt in my mind that machine scares the shit out of anybody going near it. And I want to see more of it, and I want to see it slightly morph, but not much. Just add a few elements to give it maybe the full Batmobile
gadgets.
feel, but maybe a little bit more intimidating. But yeah, the gadgets as well, but leave the rest alone. Jeffrey Wright is the star of this film, in my opinion. I loved his performance as Gordon. So perfect, so on par with just the way I always wanted to see Gordon on screen. I always wanted him to be like against the cops who were corrupt and just constantly helping Batman, even though he was acting like he wasn't. It was perfect. I will give that to this film. The relationship between the two of them is what kept me going. The pacing, which was mentioned, drove me insane. This movie was the Lord of the Rings of the DC universe, other than the Snyder Cut thing.
I'm sorry, did you say something negative? Because I'm only
I
hearing
did.
positives here.
So, other than the Snyder Cut, this is the longest pointless DC movie made, period. They did not need 3 hours. I could have made the same thing with the same impact in 2. cut it down, guys. Cut it down. This does not.
Like I said,
I
10
sat there.
minutes,
I
man.
sat there for
Did
the
you
last
forget
20
about the
minutes.
Snyder Cut?
This is no. I'm telling you,
No,
I
he
felt
brought it
worse.
up.
I
He brought it
I
up.
felt worse in the Snyder Cut. But this, in the last 20 minutes of this movie, I was like, is it gonna end? Like, okay, I get it. He's walking slowly through the water. That's great. I already know he did it. I don't need these long dramatic shots to drive home points that were already made. Was it beautiful? Yes. Did it need it? It wasn't like looking at a waterfall though. It wasn't like I could sit there and just take it in. It was like, it's beautiful.
The wrong waterfalls. I loved it.
I'm saying waterfalls are something
Listen,
I can
said
sit
that
there
from
and
the
watch. But
beginning.
now
I say you could have trimmed like 10 minutes.
these are
of
my
me and I would
these are
still
my
have
my
loved
criticisms,
it.
right? And I agree. But these are just my criticisms. I have a ton of positive things to say. I am not going to rate this movie badly, but
I love
let
your
me
criticism.
let me put it
You're
this way.
amazing.
If I were to put it somewhere on the Batman scale, because now we have a pretty good scale to weigh these live action movies on, it's above, Batman and Robin Forever, of course the turd thing that was Adam West. It's way above all those, but it's somewhere in the like Batman Begins area for me. It's not Dark Knight. It's not, and the Joker isn't the Batman movie, but that caliber I would still put up there. So I don't know, it's good. I love the crime drama aspect of it. I will watch it again. It is probably going to grow on me, but I've only watched it once.
So what's interesting about what you're saying, and I completely get where you're coming at, and I'm not going to touch on, but the way you just rated it with the movies is kind of exactly where I am with it. I don't want to compare this to The Dark Knight, and I'm not saying that there are some parts of this that were just spot on favorite moments that would rival over The Dark Knight, but The Dark Knight was a sequel, and it was evident that Christopher Nolan could make a good movie, Batman Begins, and make it an even better movie with The Dark Knight.
So I'm gonna stop you there because I said this exact same thing to Bats McSkelly before the show. This sets up for a beautiful sequel. I will not disagree with you guys. Both said that.
Exactly.
This sets up for a movie that will definitely hit a bar that I'm expecting,
and that sequel
or it won't,
would be
and
the
I'll be
one that
mad.
rivals. Yes.
Right.
And that one that sequels would rival it. And I think that's the thing. Like everyone's like, "Oh, this is better than The Dark Knight." I'm like, "Yeah, it's the first movie. I don't want to compare it." Now, if the Batman sequel, if I don't know how you say the Batman, or however they want to say it, if it's better than this movie, then I would say it could rival The Dark Knight.
I don't compare films in that way. Like,
Well,
I'm just saying for
concept.
me. No, I'm just saying for me. Like, I get what you guys are doing, and I understand it, and I see like why you would tier them like that. My brain can't. I can't wrap my brain around rating movies against movies. I've just never done that before, and so I could never like grasp the concept. So it's like listening to y'all have this conversation is actually nice. I'm just like, oh, okay, that's great. Like, this is why you guys. For me, this movie is by itself in my book. Like, okay, of course I can look at this and then look at like Keaton's and be like, obviously cinematography is obviously the direction. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, you know what I mean? You could do those things. But
Right.
for me, Keaton was like my guy. So it's like that's a nostalgic. I can still go back and watch that and enjoy it and be like, oh my gosh, and probably see some stuff that I didn't realize and some jokes that I didn't know. But for me, growing up in film, this film gave me something that the other ones haven't given me, and I think that's how I look at it. Not to say that like it's one's worse or the other one's better and things like this. It's just that I got something out of this that was refreshing and new and made me like Batman again. Because for a while I couldn't stand him because we got the same story over and over again with a different actor and a different director, and I was just like, I'm supposed to care
Now,
that this billionaire
I want
his
to
parents.
I want to bring up two things. One, I have to love the fact that they found a way to get the white eyes into the bat suit by having Pattinson at an angle, looking away, and the whites of his eyes gave that appearance for a moment. I was like, oh, they found a way to do it without digitizing him, which I thought was neat because it's always supposed to be his eyes because when he's in the animated series, he's still you can see his eyes moving, like they're
The
animated.
Deadpool effect. Yeah.
Right. But they managed to do it in live action, which is just crazy to me. I loved his armor. I thought that the fact that he was kind of tiny and scrappy made something different about this Batman. But to that
Robert
effect,
Pattinson specifically.
That
did
is
that
one of
stayed
my,
skinny.
that is
But
one of my
but what
things about it.
this is the thing that I've noticed. There's only one Batman that's ever actually been the Batman from the animated series on screen, because the rest of them are skinny, tiny guys. Ben Affleck is the only true big hulky Batman we've ever had, and I think that's why I liked him in the suit, because I was like, that's the animated Batman on screen.
Yeah.
He was because when you watch the Phantasm, which we're about to talk about, the even as Bruce Wayne, he body checks people like no problem. He's just like, I'm a
Yeah.
linebacker, boom, you know.
Yeah.
But Pattinson struggles in the upper body department and really struggled with taking people down, unless it was like his legs or his gadgets, and I liked that. It was a scrappy version. I don't know.
One complaint I have about this film. One complaint, and it's just the thing, because it was the one thing that did take me out of this. That bat suit, I love that suit. It's beautiful. Like, it's beautiful. Like, I want my big head in one of those cowls. Like, it's just a beautiful, it's a beautiful mask, and it's a beautiful suit. But the amount of close contact, high caliber shots from bullets, from large caliber guns that he gets, and he just takes it like it's nothing. Like, he's hit with shotguns, he's hit with handguns.
That's weird. I love
I
that.
think there's, like, I'm sitting there like, what is he wearing that makes him have like, and then when he did the base jumping from the building, I loved that. But the amount of force that he hit the top of the or the under part of the overpass, and then the thing, and then landed on the ground with the velocity that he was going, I'm sitting there going, he should be dead.
Except that was a real stunt. That was a real person.
Yeah, I mean, but I don't. I mean, I look at it like this: like, we can believe that this man can dress up in a suit and take down people, but we don't believe that he would reinforce the suit in ways that he would need it.
I also
because
we all like Iron Man, and we accept that he doesn't liquefy in the suit at 2 Gs.
You know what I mean?
Or
You know,
at 20
so
Gs.
so
We
it's
accept
just, I
some
don't-
things. You know, I don't know.
You know what I mean? But for me, it's just one of those things where it's like, this is year 2, and you can see that the mechanics aren't worked out. Like, if this was like year 15 Batman, he wouldn't have crashed after jumping. Also, I love that his cape turned into like the jumper, like his cape, and it's like, and so
Yep.
it sees you see that he has like these foresight, but he just doesn't go as far as he needs to go. Because if he went as far as he needs to go, the shotgun wouldn't put him on his ass like it did. Sorry, but it wouldn't put him down.
PG-13. You can say ass, shit.
Oh, okay.
Go nuts.
So like the shotgun wouldn't put him down if he, if there was a chink somewhere literally in that armor. I think it can withstand things.
Yeah,
I
but
just
I
don't
mean,
think
wasn't
it could,
there like a couple where he got hit in the head?
Yep.
Like, and it was like I mean, you could tell it was like a loose cowl. Like, it wasn't like a. I'm sitting there going, I want that material.
Okay, but in
Like-
the animated series, this is the animated series live action. That's what I figured out about this movie. It's okay. He jumped through flaming gasoline explosions, and his car was fine.
And again, I'm just saying
you
it
know.
kind of took
No,
me
but
out.
I'm
But
just saying
once
that
I
there's
understood,
also-
I was like, this dude can do anything. I'm okay.
But I
with
just
it.
feel like there's material that can withstand certain things, and I'm not saying that it's like. I'm just saying
Did
it's
you mention the
possible.
concussion that he was going through?
Yo, listen, he was dying until he did that adrenaline thing at the end. Like, guy was gone. Like, he was dying. He was passed
And then he
out. It
spends
was
2 days in the
over.
dome with no medical attention, just helping people.
But we know that Alfred is something, so he gets taken care of in some type of way. And there's no telling what the other lady does.
I liked not knowing how that was going to go. I
Me
liked
too.
how they turned the Alfred relationship just slightly in a way that I was like, okay, this is nice. This is new.
Yeah.
I did want to mention this. There is no way they can talk about a Batman movie. There has to be a mention of his parents in pretty much all of them, because it's akin to his character. It's not like Spider-Man. We talked about this, how you could literally drop even, I know they did this again in Far From Home, or not Far From Home, but No Way Home, where they still did the Uncle Ben trope, but they luckily made it more interesting. but they still don't have to do that next time. If they do a fourth iteration of Spider-Man, there'd be no need to do it. They could just go to Spectacular Spider-Man or something. But with Batman, it'd be like not telling Superman was from Krypton. It would be, it would be weird. It wouldn't work for the character. So I'm glad that they toned it down, but still the anniversary thing is such an important piece.
Right, but I love like my biggest thing with Batman is we always see the alley. We always see the traumatized kid. We never see the assailant's face. We always see the pearls in the water. It's just like it's like, do we not have other images that we can show? Like, do we? So for me, this film was, like I said, a breath of fresh air to see this kid like at 30, like literally 5 years younger than me, like in my age bracket, to see like that's how I would react. I probably wouldn't be well adjusted even at 30, especially if my butler is taking care of me. Not to say that my butler wouldn't care about me, wouldn't love me, but it's not the same as your parents. You know what I mean? It doesn't hit the same. I was like, I would be moody. And then if I had all this money at my, tell them what I would have created and became if I had all this, you know what I mean? So it was just,
and you're alone all the time because you're a loner, you're
right?
reclusive.
I'm like, I'm isolated, things like that.
You build hot rods in your basement.
Exactly, because I read a lot. I do these things. I do these things. But
let's talk about the reading a lot. I like that you mentioned that. So this Batman was a detective.
Loved it. I was like, finally.
We've never actually had that. No, they tried to give us that with the Dark Knight a little. Oh, look, I'm going to do the special bullet thing. And I was like, cute. But that's not a detective. That's the computer doing the work.
Exactly.
Get out there and sort through some paperwork, my friend, because again, in the animated series or even the original comics, and I'm talking like the 30s, 40s comics, the dude was shuffling papers, like trying to figure things out. And I just, hats off to Matt Reeves for doing that.
And I like that he has like nice technology, but it still kind of seems kind of like old schooly
clunky
in a way. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not as streamlined as like we know him to be. So like again, like all these beginnings, because you know who he becomes, right? But we never get to see him go through what he needs to go through to become what we know he's going to become. So like it was just, it's I don't know, it was just great to watch. But I will say this though, I know people were probably upset that Paul Dano wasn't in a green jumpsuit with question marks all over his body and a cane, but because to me this film was like an origin story for everybody.
Yep.
Right, so it was like an opening for Batman, Bruce Wayne. It was for Catwoman, Riddler, Gordon, Penguin, rest in peace Falcone. But
and Turturro killed it, of course.
Oh my gosh, come on. The moment I hear his voice, I'm like, ew, he's amazing. Like the moment he speaks, I'm just like, oh my gosh, just brilliance.
He reminded me of the Rounders character in this movie, where he kind of brought that sleaze of that character back.
Extremely, which you don't really see in movies anymore. But like,
right.
Well, done correctly, because he did it very, very well. I love that this was like an origin for everybody, and everybody had space. Everybody story was told, but it wasn't like overly done. I love the Riddler. I'm a huge fan, because if you putting this in like today's terms, he's literally what would be like a zealot who saw Batman on TV, got obsessed with him, and saw him as a brother in arms. It was like, I need to do something to shake up not only this corrupt life, but to get his attention, because we're doing the same thing. And like, I love that they showed him giving up. At the end, he was just like, all my plans is done and I'm done. And then, Joker is like, everybody loves a comeback kid. And I believe we're going to, if they continue with Riddler, which I really hope they do, I don't want the Joker right now, because I feel like it'll take over this film. I would like to continue, maybe add another person in, but I would like to continue with the Riddler, because I would love to see his evolution.
Who would you add? That so far, that's the main rogues gallery. Like, it's tricky. The other question was, I like this. It's tricky,
but I feel like there's people you could add. Like the Joker.
Sure.
I feel like the Joker could be like somebody in the background, because he's really good at pulling strings. He's really good at getting people to think they're doing it of their own accord, but it's actually his plan.
Hugo Strange.
I wouldn't mind him. I wouldn't mind Hugo Strange.
Oh yeah.
I'm just trying to think of characters that could add to the Batman without going overly supernatural, because this seems like a pretty grounded world still. And so you wouldn't want to go with like Croc, or even Freeze would be tricky. But if they did Freeze well,
I mean, Freeze
You'd have to
could literally
rethink
start
him.
off.
You'd have to
But
rethink
Freeze
him. Like,
could literally start off as like Captain Cold in a way. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
you wouldn't
that's
get
true.
you wouldn't get that massive the first time because I feel like everybody. It kind of reminds me of like Marvel. Ironically enough, where Thor says that like Fury tampering with the Tesseract let the universe know that Earth was ready for a higher form of war. And I feel like in this universe, seeing Batman do what he does, seeing him in this cowl, not knowing who he is, opens up for all these other characters to be like, huh.
Right. It starts
You know what I
but
mean?
even
It
in the
starts
Joker
the
or even in the Batman Nolan series, they talk about how he starts the ball rolling. Like, well, are you sure they're not here because of you, dude? So another one I thought, Black Mask, of course, gangster. So that'd be
Mad
great.
Hatter.
That's another good one. Harley Quinn could be a good addition on her own, away from Joker. And I'm
know,
talking about a different Harley Quinn too, not Margot's Harley, a different Harley.
no,
I'd like
for
to see
sure.
her as like somebody in Arkham, like we get a passing
Right.
like reference of
No offense
Harley
to
Quinzel.
anybody
Right,
in
right.
the Suicide Squad or anything like that. I don't want any of those
We want
faces.
almost two parallel worlds, in my opinion. I think it'd be kind of cool.
Because
you know?
but honestly, Matt Reeves said that. Matt Reeves said that this is not connected to the
And it's not.
but-
Okay, the
but
Batgirl's coming out, and it's still part of the DCEU,
yeah,
which is
That-
highly
that's-
disappointing.
So this is what cracks me
It
up
is.
about this is because like when
especially
Nolan's,
since she's black and Gordon, and I'm just like, why wouldn't you?
That's Jeffrey Wright's daughter. Come on, guys. This is
Like,
easy.
what are we doing?
Just
But it's
rebrand
like-
it a little. Let's just do it.
Unless
The multiverse.
then they might. It's a multiverse, or maybe unless they might use her. They can use the same actress, but still do something different with her or something like that. But what were you gonna say?
No, but I'm saying like with the Christopher Nolan Batman, the Batman Begins, Dark Knight Rises. One of the things that always bothered me was that Christopher Nolan said, "This is its own thing. It's separate from anything else. Like we're not gonna play in that." And I was really disappointed because I hoped that Christian Bale would have been the Batman that we would have had into, we would have seen like Superman and everything else into. But now after everything that's happened with the DCEU, I feel like one of the things that the DC movies has going for it is kind of self-preservation and just keeping itself away from everything else. And
Joker did the same thing.
I hope the Batman does it exactly. I feel like there are so many different like Earths with the comic books, and we have seen in Batman even before they did like the New 52 and everything else. Like the DC comics, they went all in with other worlds or Elseworlds, and you had all of these other iterations of things. Let's just have a whole bunch of standalone stuff, and then if we find something that kind of works, kind of slowly integrate. We do not need we don't need a DCEU or a DC version of the MCU until they can really figure it out.
Right.
But with Discovery taking over, it might get to that point, but they need time to just make good movies.
So
at this point, I really agree with you on that because I've talked to my brother about this, even though I'm pretty sure he tired of me talking about it. But I'm sure he is. But I've talked to him about this because I feel like they missed a golden opportunity. If they really wanted to be, if Warner Brothers really wanted it to be like the Marvel, like the MCU, they had a great opening with Man of Steel. They could have taken Man of Steel and expanded that universe, but they really wanted to get the Justice League together for some odd reason. And
because Avengers made money. That's why. It's the only reason why.
But the only reason Avengers made money is because of all the standalone
And we
movies
all
before
said
it.
this at the time when Man of Steel came out. I was like, okay, this is dark or whatever. I had my problems with it, but I was okay with it because they could add more, but it would be fine. They could keep it going. I was expecting them to even do a new Green Lantern, something.
Come on.
But they didn't do anything with it, right? They just went.
Didn't do anything.
They were just like, we made a Superman movie, so no Batman versus Superman. I'm like,
put the group together. Let's do this. This do a thing, and it's like it was just like weird.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like to Mr. Marvelite's point is just that at this point I agree. Standalone films are the way to go. But if you get somebody that comes in like Matt Reeves, who has probably a vision for what he wants, and with the success of the Batman, I'm like, okay, let him do like what he needs to do, but protect him at all costs too. Like we don't.
he needs a Kevin Feige though if he's going to do it.
Listen,
Don't let Matt Reeves do it. Have a Feige, have a producer that knows what they're doing.
And that's the biggest issue
Yeah.
with Warner Brothers is they don't have a singular person
Now it
that's
sounds like
no.
Discovery wants that.
Yeah, but
It'd be
who?
nice. I hope so. Yeah.
Feige, the reason it
John
worked.
Favreau.
Sure. The reason it worked for Feige, and I know Marvel, you guys both know this, but I'm just going to put it out there for the audience, that he has been producing films since the X-Men. And so he's been with Marvel since they started making high-budget films. So he knows how to do them and then started to figure out how to integrate them over time with the comics as a roadmap.
But here's the thing.
So,
Here's the thing, though, and this is kind of
DC doesn't even have that. So,
but
you know.
No, they
DC's
don't.
almost DC's at that place where it can happen, because if you think about it, okay, so Marvel had this point where they went bankrupt because they were about to be sold out because the guy who was in charge who had bought Marvel took them public and then pocketed all of the money from the stock sales. And so when it was time to cash in, Marvel had no like financial stability,
equity, no nothing.
and so Perlmutter and Avi Arad got together, and Perlmutter footed the bill through Toy Biz, which is why Marvel Studios was created in the first place, because Marvel Studios had been wanting, or Marvel had wanted for years to make movies.
Stanley.
Everything was crap, and then all of a sudden they started like working with Fox. They started working with Sony, and the biggest frustration Marvel had was these movies. We know what would be great because we are the keepers of the stories. We are giving them the suggestions. The studios are not listening, and now these are not getting well received, and they're blaming us. We need to take this over, which is when they took over and they created Marvel Studios. We are seeing that with.
And then 3 years later, they sold to Disney because they were doing so well.
Well, the Disney just
I know.
No, Disney got so much money. You kind of don't say no to Disney at this point. Like if
And
Disney
honestly,
comes to you and is like, I want to buy you out, you're gonna be like,
because they're going to
billions?
overpay
Yes.
you too. That's the thing.
No,
Because they can make it
exactly,
back.
right?
They can make it back.
Exactly right.
but for
exactly.
creative freedom's sake, what Disney has done for Marvel in giving them carte blanche when it comes to deciding their stories, and allowing Marvel Entertainment to be what it is, and giving Kevin Feige keys to the kingdom, is something that has never been seen before with studios, and that's what WB needs to understand.
I don't think it's going to work again.
I don't think it's gonna work either.
I'm telling you, I think
they-
this was like a perfect storm kind of thing. And I think film needs to get back to its roots to some degree. And I like this idea of singular DC films. There's so many stories in the DC universe that are amazing that don't need to be told
Honestly,
out of one movie.
yeah.
Maybe two. You could do like a part one, part two. Where are
part
those
two.
movies?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I said it though. I said that DC should stay with a standalone and don't try to do an extended universe.
I like what both of you are saying because it's possible. And if I'm proven wrong,
for sure.
great.
But
But
I'm
I
not-
don't see it. I don't know.
But again, like I'm saying it's possible, but I'm not pushing for a universe for DC because we've seen what's happened, especially when it comes to casting, because I feel like Marvel has done really good about building their casts as well, and the cast kind of keeps mostly out of trouble. but
been a couple
WB,
of
like there's they've
WB
made
got
some bad
some
decisions
bad
about who they put in
seeds, man.
leadership. It's just
They got some bad seeds, man.
I think that because I don't know. I think that the problem is that Marvel had already kind of gone through and hired all the actors, and then when DC was left, they were like, "Who can we hire?" And they were like, "Well, that kid and this kid," and that didn't work.
I think
That didn't
it's
work.
No,
some
but
point,
they could have. But I feel like Marvel, because Marvel is so secretive in what they do, and Disney is such a big like company. I feel like they background the heck out of people. Like they find stuff that like they wouldn't even know.
Well, they fired Gunn just for a couple of
they were-
comments from 10 years ago. Like,
No, really, but I just feel like they really do background checks, and they're like, okay, well, this is what we'll do if this comes out, and this is what we'll do if that comes out. And I feel like WB doesn't do that. They were just like,
no, Disney
like
has a
throwing-
room of lawyers that do that. They're like, okay, if a person has this come out, here's the
this
scenario.
is what we do. This
Right.
is what we do, and then we'll do this. And honestly, you need that if you're going to have multiple people, multiple movies, you need that type of order. And I feel like the WB doesn't have order at all.
Okay, I have a theory, and this is what happens. I think you're absolutely correct about the fact that Marvel has kind of taken up when it comes to the casting and stuff, and then the people who don't want to do, let's say, like comic book movies they're being warned because of people like, what's his face, Scorsese and stuff like that. But here's the thing. Marvel had recently come out with a a statement where they said that they were no longer going to be pushing the contracts like they were. And we do know that like Elizabeth Olsen has gotten a contract for like multiple films and shows and stuff like that. But if you consider the fact that Barry Connick just did, or Barry Cogan just did Druid for Eternals, and we see him in the Batman with DC. I'm very like sure that, especially since it kind of started with James Gunn, they were going to hire him back pretty quickly because Feige got involved, but they waited as long as they could because Feige was all for Gunn going off and working for DC because he's been on record before saying if DC makes good movies, all it does is make things better. We want more.
He doesn't want to see anything flop. Nothing should flop.
Exactly.
Right.
And so for him, I really feel like Kevin Feige has gone to the point of where he's almost like my patron saint of just awesomeness. And
you're going to get a little dashboard, Kevin Feige.
Yeah, he's my co-pilot. And so you have this opportunity that I think he's intentionally leading the trend that they don't keep exclusivity on their directors and actors anymore so that they can go over and do these roles.
So we've spent almost an hour on the Batman and just DCEU Marvel stuff because that's what we do.
You should just have
but I have one last question that somebody asked in the chat that I liked, and I want to make sure we ask this question. Who should play Robin to Batman if they do a Robin in the Batman verse?
I say this, if they decide to do Dick Grayson, which, from being honest, no film has really touched on Dick Grayson. They've whispered it. They've, was like, oh, they call me Robin and different things like that. But they've never really, really touched
Forever
on his
in Batman and Robin is Dick Grayson, and they go into his background a little bit, but he's cheesed out hard. He's not as badass as he should be.
Exactly.
He's not as smooth as he should be.
I was just about to say, it's forever in Batman and Robin, so it's like, what I don't really.
No, you're right. That's the only treatment he's ever been given in live action, and it's terrible.
I feel like if they decide to do Dick Grayson as Robin, which I would prefer, I would really want them to do that because I just feel like if we're going to do the start of his life, it's Dick Grayson. I would want Dylan O'Brien to be Dick Grayson.
Oh, you're talking about the actor. I was just saying, which Robin would you want?
Oh, I want Dick Grayson. Sorry.
Okay. No, you're good. Now we have more information. So yeah, we're good. Mr. Marvelite, which Robin would you prefer, if any?
Yeah,
you may say no Robin.
I would definitely want to start with Dick Grayson, and what I thought would be interesting is Aidan Gallagher, number 5 from Umbrella Academy. I think he would do a good job.
I get that.
So I think it should either be Jason Todd or it should be
Tim Drake.
No, it should be Jason Todd, and here's why it should be Jason Todd. Because the Batman would do all sorts of crazy things to the Joker if Jason Todd came up dead. And I think that would be a hell of an intro scene so that we know that Robin's been around and we can literally just do the Red Hood with the Batman. I think that would be interesting, but that's just me.
I get that.
The other one would be, why not just twist the story a little bit and have it be Damian, except Damian is Catwoman's son instead or something.
No, we still need the League of Assassins.
I know, or you could just go with Damian and then that's your way to give the League of Assassins background story. You could just, here's your kid, dude. Because he's been gone. He went and trained. This Batman had to train. He didn't learn all this hanging around
Joseph Gordon-Levitt is Nightwing's. Let's run it. They tried that. It failed.
Yeah, see, I wanted to see that.
Never continued.
He should have been Dick Grayson. He would have been good.
Honestly, as much as I love JGL, because I do, I'm a fan. Been a fan since Third Rock from the Sun. I think he would have been a really good. I was really liking the direction they were going with his character, and then they just seemed to drop it. They were just like, we got. They was like, we got Joker and stuff. So
the Dark Knight Rises was Nolan's afterthought because it wasn't the story he meant.
I know it wasn't the story he wanted.
So,
yeah, I know.
I think Grayson probably would have had more in would he
know?
In the Dark Knight. I don't know.
because he wasn't even established until The Dark Knight Rises. Like
The, the Robin was a nod. Nolan was never going to put Robin in the movie. That
yeah,
was
he
never
was
even
never
part
going to
of
do.
it.
I don't
so.
think he. I don't think it. Yeah, I don't.
What
think
if
he ever
what if they
did
would
it.
have done Todd in The Dark Knight Rises if it would have been a continuation? With
I think that's what they were trying to do with DCEU. That we saw that Jason Todd died, but I don't know. I don't know. DCEU is
like,
such
but
a
that's what I'm
disappointment.
saying. For me, Jason Todd
was that Jason Todd or was that just the franchise like there?
Touche.
That's funny.
So I think we should rate this film, and we have two other films to cover, and I do want to give them their fair shake.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real quiet during the mask of the Phantasm. So, but yes, because we're gonna get through that quick. So it's.
Did you not watch it?
Oh, I watched it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I did a whole review on it on Letterboxd.
I thought it was a good review. Anyway.
Was it?
I thought it was. Maybe I didn't pay enough attention.
Nice.
So why don't we go ahead and rate the Batman? Why don't we start with Mr. Marvelite?
9, solid 9. 10 as a kid. I love this. I love the dark aspect. I also, and I didn't even say this. I loved the tasteful elements of this. I mean, this was a PG-13 film, and they had the opportunity to go to rated R, but they didn't. Now, mind you, I'm not going to have my 7-year-old watch this for a while, but I will say this: when they went to the 44 Below Club, and you could see that there was a stripper on the pole, they chose to blur that out, not because we got to keep it PG-13. I think it was actually tastefully done. Like, there's criminal elements, and that was just like a set piece. It didn't have to be there. But they did it in a way where it wasn't like the focal point, because I think a lot of people, there's,
yeah, you have to expose this woman to tell a story.
but like they were specific on certain things, but then they kind of like just brought things out and like toned things out in certain ways, and I thought it was classily done. So definitely a 9. I love this film, and I'm going to be watching it a whole lot.
All right,
and I'm going to be doing some Rudy videos, so don't worry about it.
Are you going to start a whole nother account called Mr. DCite?
Mr. Batmanite?
Just
That's
checking.
all he cares about. He just cares about Batman. He doesn't care about DC.
Just Mr. Batite.
Should I just call myself Mr. Batmite?
Or why not just the Bat?
The Bat.
I'm the biggest fan.
Batmite. I think it should be the Batmite.
The Bat fan?
Oh yeah. Well, wasn't Batmite the interdimensional being that was like a huge
Batmite's a thing. Batmite's a thing.
Yeah.
Black Girl Marvel, what is your rating of the Batman?
I give the Batman a 9.5.
I thought you were joking. I knew you were.
I give it 9.5. I love this film. Like I said, it gave me what I was missing and some stuff I didn't know I needed, and so I'm excited to see the growth in Batman, since we never get to see that. We only get to see him being amazing. And I get it, Batman Begins does give him a start, but he's still a grown ass man learning kung fu and to master his demons. This was a breath of fresh air. And like I said, it revitalized my love for Batman, because for a while he was going the way of Lady Gaga. So much saturation, I didn't care. It was just too much. It was just like, I needed you to disappear for a while and then come back. But this was something.
And like Gaga, he came back strong, right?
You feel me? And this was something new on the palette, man. Oh, like Hannah said, Colin Farrell. Let me just add this in.
Oh yeah.
Colin Farrell was friggin' amazing. I feel like once they put the prosthetics on him and all that type of stuff, I felt like he was Oswald Cobblepot. I feel like he became this character, and I feel like he had so much fun. Mr. Snippet.
Yeah, so I do want to discuss the fact that they took a skinny actor and fattened him up when they could have just hired a fat actor.
I was here.
I'm a fat guy.
Here's
right?
my thing.
I got fat everywhere. I'm not saying hire me, but I'm saying there are good actors. There are good actors that are fat and that can act like De Niro, because that was him doing a De Niro impression. It was him doing a De Niro impression the whole movie, and he did a good job. But anyway, go ahead.
But here's my thing. I'm fat too, and I would love to be in these films. All right, we all fat. We all want to be in these films. But sometimes I figure like, and I want to believe this, that they picked the right actor for the job, regardless of
But they could have put a fat suit on De Niro, and I would have believed the Penguin just as much.
But I don't think De Niro
A little too old for those. I know.
Little too, yeah.
Little too
I mean,
old.
just a smidge. And I would also like to just throw up because I forgot about this. One of my favorite scenes of that movie, this is crazy, but is when they're interrogating the penguin, and Jeffrey Wright's like, "Open your eyes." That's like my favorite part. It's so much acting in that moment. It's such a masterclass watching that scene and watching him. It was just like amazing. I was in a theater like I'm watching. My eyes are open. Like I was like, okay.
I have a final criticism that I've remembered that I had. And yes, I think the acting across the board was good. If I gave it to anybody to be like the one that I think could have done better and everybody's going to disagree with me is I thought Zoe Kravitz was okay. She was okay. Whatever. That said, the fact that the same music was used time and again throughout the movie drove me freaking insane.
Well, his theme song.
So there's the theme song is one thing. That's fine. The Something Is in the Way worked really well in the beginning of the film, but when you used it the second time, I'm like, you took away the meaning from it the first time, which was letting me in. And I think the motif of the song does work for Batman because it is an interesting song and it definitely deals with that kind of guttural side of things, but don't use it twice. And the Ave Maria song was used 3 times. Laziness. Let's use other songs or just have somebody write a little score to go in there, but don't just keep giving me the same crap. It bugged me.
Listen, if I were Batman, I would have a soundtrack that I would be playing while I'm fighting people, and I would.
That's
pick
Lego
one song
Batman.
over and over again. Yes,
That's Lego Batman.
I mean, okay. I just want to say this, and then we can like get to your rating, and then we can like move on. I just want to say because you brought up the music thing, and it triggered something in me.
Mm-hmm.
But like, because my thing is this, I looked at this film as not like a typical like. And it's just me. I'm not saying this to be like you're wrong or anything because I enjoy your point of view. But for me, I liked that some of the music. I liked that the music was used over again because I felt like it's telling a story within that story. So I feel like the music has just as much to do with like the plot and the storyline and the scenes than anything else. And so, because to me, it's just like how they reuse shots. You know what I'm saying? Like they reuse shots because it's like a through line. It's telling.
But
a
it
story.
doesn't.
It's like
You're not
stringing
trusting not trusting your audience if you do that though. Those extra shots
I
that
don't-
like
I
I hate
don't
you
see
know
that
how
way.
I feel. So
No,
like
I do.
in Insidious when they like had to flash back to the same thing we saw 10 minutes ago to drive home the point that we already knew. I feel like I'm being spoon fed and it pisses me off. So
No, I
the
get that.
music
I don't think they.
didn't.
I don't feel
know.
like they were
That's just
driving
me.
home points. I felt like they were like, I don't know, like sinking things maybe. But that's how I looked at it. I'm just saying like that's how I looked at it, and I actually enjoyed that aspect of it.
No, for sure. But I think the element that I think about it, if I'm going to try to really put my finger on it, is to me, music is a form of growth in a film. So like you hear music change as the character changes, and we see Bruce and Batman change dramatically throughout this film. He embodies Batman by the end of the film. So that song doesn't really fit anymore. It should have been something different. It doesn't have to be uplifting. Nothing about the soundtrack should have been uplifting, other than like presence or power like we get from that really intense monotonous sound that we get from his soundtrack. I love it, but that would have fit better than Something in the Way, I think. And that's just for me. Music is a huge part of the growth.
We should have gone to
It
Smells Like Teen Spirit.
That really weirdly would have worked better in a strange way. Not that I loved it, but any of the other Nirvana songs
with the lights out, it's less dangerous.
Because like I feel like even though he, is it possible for somebody to grow in a week, in a night? I don't think he grew that. I don't think he grew that much. So to me, the music, he's still the music. I feel like he's still that piece, and it might be to show that even though there's some growth, there's still more to do. So that music is to show that like, even though he's still, it's like a aloha, like hello and goodbye, like same word, same thing, but
I have to watch the movie again now. This is driving me nuts. You guys have made it so I have to go watch it. Like right now, I want to stop the show and I want to go reanalyze the whole film with all of this in mind.
Folks, we're gonna go ahead and go watch the Batman again.
Yeah, you guys.
We're gonna have a watch party.
Ooh,
okay, no, but it's 3 hours. It's a 3-hour movie, and I do work in the morning. Yeah. Okay. So I do have to get the pre-review loaded, so I jacked that up. So if you guys could.
No, what's your rating?
Because that's not a problem.
No,
rating.
Did you rate it? You didn't.
I didn't. And right now, with a revision possibly in mind, it's a 7.
I'm not not mad at it. That means you'll still watch it again.
Oh, it's a solid
I'm
7.
mad at it.
Oh.
7 is solid. 7 is. Please watch it. I would tell anybody to
How
watch
many
7
times
I know
have you
your
watched
numbers.
this film?
once.
Once.
Oh, that's the problem.
I can tell you he watched
I
it
will tell you
once.
something. I liked it the first one. I watched it on my birthday with my patrons, and
Your patrons. I like that.
Patreon patron. I guess I don't. It's weird. And enjoyed it. And then I turned around and watched it again, and then I watched it Friday night while I was doing some cleaning and stuff like that. And when I watched it that third time, everything dawned on me, and I started honing in on like the stuff that was so suggestive, and it became it's kind of like that thing when you find out like somebody's been making videos and you like their videos, but then all of a sudden they put something in there that it then makes perfect sense after that last video, and it like all ties together. You realized all of the hints, like it was well done, and I love that, and that's why I'm a 9. And it's a very high 9 because like of that specific purpose. Like the way it was crafted was on purpose. Even the slow parts that you can't stand.
I know,
Yeah.
and it's not that I don't understand the idea of using slow mo in films to drive home a message. This is much like I had a problem with DMZ in that initial intro scene where they flipped the lid and they stayed there. In this, when they flipped the camera, it's because the car, from our perspective, was upside down. So it worked. And as soon as he comes out of the car, it flips back over. Those are the kinds of subtle things that can make the difference. So this movie did that right, but got too long on some of those shots. And it's not that there's not to be given from those shots. I think it's almost like, all right.
Listen, Smitty,
Anyway,
I'm just going to tell you
that's
this right now. He may not be the Batman you wanted, but he's the Batman you need.
And he is the one I deserve. So
Definitely.
7. And my kid self would have given this a 10, by the way.
Oh yeah, kid self. She still believes in growth at 12. So, she gave this like a 9.
Sean did work hard on this, so I'm gonna have to take us to black screen to get this loaded. So bear with me for just a second, but you can still talk. That you just won't see us. So here we go.
Wait, what? But they can hear us?
Oh, lights are out. What happened?
Hold on.
They can
Flip
hear
the
us?
switch.
Where did I put it?
Help.
Oh, maybe I won't be able to do it. Hold on.
Twitch is
How's
such a
it going,
delay for me.
everyone?
It's
I'm
like-
Sean,
it's
and
like-
I'm
I
finally
know, it's
back
so
with
weird
this
because, like,
week's
I'll be the guest here,
pre-review.
and then I'll see it on
This
screen.
week
Like,
we
I
have
wish I
three
didn't do that.
incredible theatrical releases. We
No,
start off with Sonic the Hedgehog 2, which that's
Hey,
so
who
crazy
turned
that
off
I'm
the
saying
lights?
Sonic the Hedgehog 2. That first one was... How's it going, everyone? We're back with this week's pre-review. This week I got a trio of films that look really good, and one of them I am super excited about. First up, we have Memory, starring Liam Neeson, which I know this will come as a shock. He plays an assassin who is out on a mission when, the tables get turned on him and he realizes something's not quite right, and now he has to take out his employer. We know this has been done before, but it's Liam Neeson. He does it well. You don't change stuff when the sauce is perfect. These are always, a toss-up as to whether they'll be good, but it's Liam Neeson, so I'll definitely check it out. This next movie, Green Ghost and Master of the Stone, I don't know where to start. Danny Trejo, luchadors, martial arts, and an ancient power stone of some kind. Those words right there are enough to hook me. Watch this trailer. It looks like it's going to be so much fun. And finally, one that I am super excited for. Netflix is bringing us Samurai Rabbit, The Usagi Chronicles. This story is going to follow Yuichi Usagi, who is a descendant of the great Miyamoto Usagi. I really love the Usagi Yojimbo universe. Their comics have always been incredible. And for this to be brought to animated looks really good. Of course, he's going to have a great enemy. He's going to meet friends along the way, form a team. I am really excited for this. I'm really hoping my son enjoys it because I really want to watch it as well. All right, that's all we have this week, and I'll see y'all next time.
And we're back with the real study. Lala likes to try to trip me up before we get back, but what she doesn't know is that she's muted when we come back, so I can at least do my best to get it done. That said,
Don't ever mute Electro Marvel. Don't do that.
I know, I'm hilarious. People need to hear this greatness.
that said, we are going to move on to the Mask of the Phantasm, which it sounds like we're going to do a quick review because I don't think Lala enjoyed this film. That's okay. It is a short animated film, and it is one that Cell Phone Wallet Keys did bring up as one that he wanted us to do. So we went ahead and did it. I hadn't seen this movie since '94 or '5, something like that, on VHS or VHS it would have been. And as I was watching the beginning, I was like, have I seen this? Have I seen this? Have I seen this? I swear I've seen this. And I got to the end, I went, oh yeah, I've seen this. So definitely a continuation of the Batman animated series, which ran for 4 seasons. And this is the same whole cast of characters coming back, all the same voice actors for every character that is returning, including Mark Hamill as the Joker. So what do you think of the Mask of the Phantasm there, Lala?
Um, it was alright. You know what I mean? Like, um, it was okay. This is a quintessential '90s animated style, writing, everything. And I said in my review on Letterbox that it had like a '50s type of flair, type of writing to it, and women weren't really respected in that time, so or ever, but really wasn't in that time. So I think my aversion to it was like I said, I like the Batman Bruce Wayne parts. I never care for Bruce Wayne when he's in a relationship. I that's never a focal for me. So the fact that she was such a prominent part of his story, I was just kind of like, all right, is she gonna die or something? But then you find out that, like, spoiler alert, like she's the mask of the Phantasm, which to me was cool because with this '50s style of writing, you wouldn't put a woman in a position of power like that. You wouldn't have her be the one that one ups other men. And honestly, she's one upping Batman at this point because she's sneaking and disappearing and he can't find, all this type of thing. So I enjoyed that. I just felt like I don't care if he loved this girl or not. Like, punch somebody in the face. I be Batman or is I just didn't care about that. I was just like, oh, he's in love. Is he gonna stop being Batman? But like Mr. Marvel was talking about, I like the correlation between this animated film and the Batman, where it was like they both were having like this internal struggle of like who I feel I should be and who the world thinks I should be type of deal. And so I like that was nice, a nice correlation between these films. But like I could have deal without this one, you know what I mean? But it was good to watch it. It was good to add to the Batman, you know,
You
filmology.
now you've seen them all, like you said. Now yeah. I'm with you.
Exactly. Even though I tried to watch this before and I fell asleep, so
I'm with you. I can
until
understand that.
Wally Keys brought it up, I was like, I don't know if I would have picked this one. I was like, but let's try it. I said, if it's for the show, I could probably get through it, and I
Yep.
did.
I feel that way about some of our movies sometimes, and then weirdly, as I force myself, I'm pleasantly surprised, and I found that twice in the last couple months, and that's been interesting. Mr. Marvelite, your impression of the Mask of the Phantasm?
Yeah, so like you, I watched it back when it was released on VHS. I had the white puffy, clamshell case that they came in that were trying to be like Disney. And I got it for as a Christmas gift and wore the crap out of it because, of course, I was a huge Michael Keaton Batman fan at the time. And at that time, I did not appreciate the noir setting for it. And I had just gotten into the Batman animated series, and I didn't like how there were some things that just didn't fit in for me. Like it was the same characters, but like the hint toward the death of Joker and stuff like that. Like I felt like for an animated series that had just come out the year before, this was a little bit presumptuous as a movie. Um, but it was kind of cool seeing where he got the idea of getting the Batmobile and stuff like that, and those things. And this is definitely a Bruce Wayne Batman that we had flashbacks to him coming into that role and how he gathered the role of Batman, and him struggling with the idea of whether he could be the Dark Knight or just go off and have a happy life, which thinking about it now kind of like bothers me because Batman doesn't want a normal life. He's obsessed with this. It felt like in the Mask of Phantasm, Bruce Wayne is almost haunted by the promise that he made, and because of that, he's doing it out of duty that he can't, stand by. And it was
Right.
almost
Is
like
he
it was
doing it out of
imposed on
duty, or does the Mask of the Phantasm say he has to do it out of fate?
see. I don't know because like when he's at the tombstone and he's struggling and he's like, "Can't I be happy? Can't you let me
No, you
go?"
cannot suffer.
Yeah, it's like no. Batman was driven to the point of where it's like there is nothing else. Batman is my persona. That
He
is
gave
who
up
I
on
am.
love a long
I
time
am
ago.
vengeance. I am the night.
Exactly.
Right. I hear what you're
Exactly.
saying.
And with the idea that he and that the idea that he was Andrea that he could possibly turn his back on maybe this is the end of Batman. That was a little too fast.
So I think that they can't the timeline I think is where it doesn't work. So this movie takes place in two different time periods, and they talk about how it's 10 years almost, right? And so being 10 years prior, that's pre-animated series, and so we're supposed to believe that this all happened before he became the Batman that we know. And I think that in a way they're trying to say it's a prequel.
And they killed the Joker.
Killed the Joker. They killed the Joker in Suicide Squad. They don't kill the Joker. They killed the Joker. Like they don't.
Well, Suicide
don't
Squad
know.
did kind of kill the Joker, but we're not going to talk about that.
But in a different
Um,
studio way. Like this is
Yeah.
this is still ambiguous. Like is he dead? But we have to admit that even Hamill in this film, he's able to shine a little brighter as the Joker. And I do love
Oh
that
yeah.
they kind of went, hey, you remember that '89 Batman movie that we kind of based this whole series off of? Why don't we do the same thing and have him be a gangster, that turned bad guy? And what I thought was weird was, did the Joker gas or like the vat of chemicals at Acme Chemicals or Ace Chemicals, sorry, not Acme, at Ace Chemicals, make his mouth bigger? Because the Joker's smile when he was the gangster guy was just like a normal smile. But then in this, he's like, teeth are huge. He looks like teeth from the Muppets. Like he's,
Yeah.
it's weird. Am I crazy?
Well,
Like
yeah, it's exactly like what we saw in the Batman with like that little glimpse of the Joker there. Like the chemicals extremely altered him.
Right.
The Suicide Squad made him pasty and irritable. And the
With missing
cartoons,
teeth.
it definitely gave him that look. And it's just like with Michael Keaton, or not with Michael Keaton, with Jack Nicholson. Jack Nicholson was altered, and the final product after falling into the chemicals is what we got with him. And he's like, "Where do they get a hold? Where do they get a look
What
at
do you
me?"
want of me?
Yeah, it's like that. That's this Joker, and that's who he is. And I kind of like that. I love like I do say I did like the mental part of it. Like he's crazy. He's staying at the World's Fair. He's definitely not
The
established.
gadgets. This is something that
Yes.
we've never gotten from our Joker in the movies. He's always got gadgets in the comics and in the animated series. That's what makes him powerful. Is he's thought these weird contraptions through, and he's still kind of a genius. And in the original '89 Batman, we do kind of get the genius level Joker because he's mixing the chemicals and he's got he's crime lord essentially. But we don't get the gadgets still. And in fact, in that movie, they even talk about he doesn't have gadgets. And I'm like, but you have them too. What's the problem here? So I would like to see that brought from the animated side over. But I don't know. I still found this movie enjoyable. I still thought that this movie held up after this long. And I understand your aversion to the animation style of the era because this Lala was when they started doing digital animation overlays in order to make it look cooler.
Mm-hmm.
Very Beauty and the Beast style.
Yeah.
And I appreciate what they did, but it doesn't look good now at all.
Yeah. Yeah, but it was worth a watch, and I will say that. Like
No, I will say that too. I'm happy I got through it. Like I said, I fell asleep. I was the first time I tried to watch it like years ago, and shout out to Cell Phone Water Keys because I wouldn't be here without them. Because I just wouldn't. I mean, I will say I do like the scenes where like they were showing him like going out for the first time and you know putting a mask on and like beating up people, but then still getting hurt. And I was just like, and then part of me was just like, we just talked about him doing some like crazy stuff. He jumped from on top of a truck and just landed on his feet. I was just like,
Yeah.
all right.
No,
like,
this Bruce Wayne was a rough and tumble.
Yeah.
This
I
Bruce
was
Wayne was like, I'll kick your ass whether I'm in the suit or not. I don't care. Like, I like that.
I was just like, all right, y'all. I was like, okay, cool. But I like seeing the elements of that. So like that was like I said, there were some good elements to this. It just wasn't my style. This wasn't my I'm really big on like DC animated style films. And like even like Disney and Pixar, like how they switch up things. I still like old school, like, I think the noir feel this, and again, the relationship really took me out of this. I was like, I don't care about her, but I get it. She was a catalyst to like the whole.
Oh,
I just didn't care.
It was such a typical story, though. Like,
yeah, I just didn't care.
It wasn't inspired anyway. And again, this is like where it was like an animated series, and where we've seen a lot of the DC animated films are catering toward the older crowd or the adults as well.
Mm-hmm.
This one was definitely, if I remember correctly, it was the more risque of the children's films, but it was definitely a children's film.
Mm-hmm. And, it was targeted at 14-year-olds, 13-year-olds.
Yeah. So it wasn't even like that. I will say I did like the one scene that I did like, and I went back and actually watched it a couple times, was once he was like, scorned because she left him, and he figured out the bad thing, and he's putting on the outfit, and Alfred hands him the cowl, and he puts it on, and he turns, and when Alfred gasped, like, I like that because it's like,
he found it.
Because what Bruce's mind, he's like, yep, it worked.
Yep, he found the thing he was looking for. And I did like him running around in just the ski mask, very Batman Begins, like year one, trying to, we would get a little bit of year one from this, which the animated series never did that. So we always just had Batman established. So this kind of retcons that a little bit, gives us a little year one, but his year one happened to be love rather than vengeance, I guess, if you're going to play off the Batman. Although Zoe and Catwoman, a little love. Anyway. So yeah.
I will say I enjoy Zoe as Catwoman because
hello, Will. I didn't even see Will came in.
Again, it was sprinkles of who she could be and not fully who she is. So I like that.
Yeah. No, I hope to see her character grow, but that's just.
I just feel like it's a movie called The Batman, and I'm just happy that they didn't. As much as I love, like, we got Selena Kyle as like a black woman. I appreciate that because it's been a lot of Caucasian women out here, doing the role. Some justice, some not. But I'm just saying, like, I'm happy that we got a black woman, but I'm just happy that like it's called The Batman. It was about the Batman, and then just elements of like trickles in his life, So, but yeah.
No
Catwoman slander. You see my shirt. No Selena Kyle slander.
Well, what I also liked about the Mask of the Phantasm was, with what you said, Snippets, about this being like kind of like the early years of Batman as well. It made perfect sense because you watch Batman through this film. He's not really the covert, like, sneaky Batman that we know. Like, I think he picked up that whole like theatrical, like, in the smoke coming in from
her.
And that would make sense. Yeah. It's like, it definitely made sense at that point, because like that, the part where they took the Batwing and he's being chased around, like, that dude was clunky. Like, he was not doing well when it came to avoiding the cops. Like, he struggled.
I mean, also just like randomly beating up dudes on the street. I mean, not randomly, like.
Well, he was trying to protect somebody.
No, I get it, but like, you're supposed to be incognito. Call the cops.
It's Gotham, though.
And then still call the cops. You're not in the cowl right now. Or in your mask. Call the cops. And on top of that too, like, you're like, that's how she figured it out. She was just like, oh, this.
I don't know, him being in the Batman outfit, sitting in front of the Wayne freaking.
I feel like all those elements, that for sure was
very
like
who does that?
Flash.
Let me put on my cowl and let me go stand out in front of my mansion. Essentially, I mean, I know he wasn't. That's not where the grave is in this story, but still, like
the statement when he looks at her, he says, "You have perfect timing," and she's like, "I saw it on TV," and I'm like, "Yeah."
No.
Yeah.
So let's talk about
there.
Let's talk about the cast of this film. So we've got Kevin Conroy, Mark Hamill. Like, that's duh. Like, you can't have this without them. Dana Delaney playing Andrea. And then we get Stacy Keach actually playing the voice of the Phantasm. So there was actually 2 people playing the Phantasm. Abe Vigoda played Salvatore. And did you guys ever notice that Gotham is essentially Little Italy in New York?
Yeah.
All the gangsters are Italian. Like, they
Italian,
just
yeah.
are. Like, across the board. I've never not heard of a single person in the Batman universe somewhat related to an Italian name. So I'm wondering... I mean, it's obvious because the Batman was written in the 1930s during the height of the gangster era, and so New York is, of course, where it was written.
Maroni,
So,
Falcone.
yeah, all of those, obviously. But it's just interesting because, yeah. So, anyway, we've got Dick Miller in the movie. He was the neighbor from the Gremlins. We've got John Ryan, who has been in a ton of movies. Names you may not recognize, but if you saw these actors, you'd be like, oh, I love that guy. And then like I said, all of the actors from the animated series coming back. So like the guy that played the commissioner. So to me, I love it when they do that. They don't do that kind of stuff as much anymore. When they do a movie, they'll change actors. Like, wouldn't it have been great to have Grant Gustafson in the DCEU instead of Ezra Turd?
Grant Gustin? Yeah.
Grant Gustafson, yeah. Wouldn't that have been better? Wouldn't it have been, then we would have already had a Supergirl. We would have already had, that's just me. I don't know.
When they announced a Flash film, I was like, are they going to give Grant Gustin a chance to be him in a live action? And they were like, nah. And I was so disappointed because I was just like, the dude established the guy on TV. Obviously, he can do it on. Why wouldn't you just snatch boy
But they did the same thing with the Superman Returns when they did Brandon Routh. Everyone was thinking that, Tom Wellington is going to get, or Tom Welling is going to get Tom Welling. I'm thinking steaks right now. I'm hungry. So when Tom Welling,
how do you feel about Tom? That's the question.
Yeah,
delicious. Actually,
yes. Medium well.
Medium Tom.
Yeah, medium Tom. But no, people were wanting him to be, Superman in that film, and then we got Brandon Routh, and
to me that made sense because we're talking about an extension of the Reeves character. It's literally a sequel. It's the 3rd film in the series. I know Superman 3 exists, but technically this would have been post Superman 2. So to me, it didn't bother me. But when they had already established the Arrow, they established Speedy, they established Flash, they established Supergirl, and they never established Superman and Batman right away, I'm like, you've got them. That's Ben Affleck. That's, elevate these actors' careers, guys. Don't hesitate. TV and movies are crossing over.
I bet they wish they would have did it now. I bet they looking back like, dang, man, we just could have got that kid from the
And then
CW.
they wouldn't have seasons 4, 5, and 6 of these shows that are just awful. They would have just pulled them from the TV shows and just made movies, and then they could have. The
show would have still went because they got contracts. So we still got those seasons.
They wouldn't have had to reboot contracts if they were going to movies. And there could have been more crossover like they're doing with the MCU and Disney Plus, is what I'm saying. There could have been, they failed us.
Everybody could have made money, and that's all I'm saying. But,
Miranda Janelle just messed me up with the Tom Beefcake Wellington.
What did she say?
She said
Tom Beefcake Wellington. Yes.
Delicious.
He will take that on a silver platter.
Wow.
So, see, now I just see. Okay, that's terrible. Okay, so the apple and the anyway.
It's not terrible to me. I like that image. I'm digging that image.
Tom, if you ever hear this episode, I apologize for that image.
Turn him around. I know
Just
he's a married man.
put him on a spit, right? Just.
Yep.
We're done.
Okay, we just went
We're done quite literally roasting Tom Welling. Or Wells. What is the dude's name? I don't even remember.
Welling.
Thank you.
Welling.
Jeez.
Jeez, you guys.
Okay. We should
his name is Tom Wellington now.
We should just rate this film and then move on while we're ahead of the game. I'm going to give this a 7 for an animated movie, and I want to qualify that. Animated movies, much like horror movies, almost feel like they need their own scale. Because when you give an animated movie a 7, I don't want to put it up against The Batman as a 7, but for animated movies, I liked it. Does that make sense? Because like a horror movie 6 is like really a 10.
Ew. Your rating system ugly. No,
Look at any. No, I'm saying if you go into IMDb, name a horror movie real quick. Play this game.
Hold on
with
a
me.
second. Wait.
Name a horror
We
movie.
gotta-
Name
We're
one.
not going to pull an Oscars here. We should be able to compare animated films to.
No. I don't mean it like that. I don't mean it like
We
that.
don't wanna-
No, I get what you're
We
saying.
don't wanna
Us.
separate
Us.
them.
Okay.
Okay.
Us
Okay.
is kind of
Us.
being an oddball. I think it may be an outlier to some degree. But
That's
let me look
fine.
up Us.
So you just described me, right?
6.8. Right? That's what I'm. That's kind of my point. Most horror movies, 6.8 for a horror movie is really, really high on all platforms. Letterboxd, IMDb, doesn't matter. That's a high rating because of the way that people have rated this film. So to me, when you see a 7 for a horror movie, I'm like, I'm watching that. That's got to be good if it's a 7.
You're talking like law of averages. You know, it's like
Right,
the average
right.
with all these people. Oh, okay.
So if I see an animated movie that says it's a 7, I'm going to feel the same way. Because the average person doesn't want to watch a horror movie or animated movie. They're going to rate it low just because they're assholes. So they're just going to, they just rate it low.
Yeah.
The rest of people that are trying to average that stuff out, to be fair, like Marvelite said, we're not trying to be the Oscars. So what I'm saying, I want to put them on their own scale. It's only because I don't want to. I don't. Oh, Lord. How did that make its way onto the show? I know, but we're okay. Okay. No, you're fine. So my point is, if we're to do the same kind of idea with animated films, if you move it to its own ranking and say, okay, against all other animated films, I still put this up at a 7. I think it's good and fun. And quintessential viewing if you're watching the animated series.
You feel better? You feel like you got that out?
No, but go ahead.
6.
Ooh.
It's good. It was worth a watch. I'm glad I watched it again just to get it refresh it. I will not be watching this again. And I think I lost the VHS tape. I'm not going to be buying this. It's on HBO Max. So, it is what it is.
Lady Crossheart came in and we didn't say hi. Or at least I didn't.
I did. I said hi.
I said hi.
You guys
You
can
better start typing.
see. I try not to type because it's loud. I was told.
Fine.
Hannah told me it's really loud and obnoxious. Not that she's complaining. It's for the recording. For the recordings. Anyway.
Understandable.
So that said, Black Girl Marvel. What is your rating?
I'm a mimic Mr. Marvelite because I will never partake in this film ever again. And y'all know how much I love. I love animation. Like I love it, and I enjoyed this because I said, and like I said in my Letterboxd review, this is quintessential '90s. In the writing, in the wording, in the animation, it's very '90s, and it's some stuff is '90s adjacent, and it's like, man, that held up.
I want to warn you.
Doesn't hold up for me in '90s.
I want to warn you. We were talking about you going back and watching the animated series. This is exactly the animated series.
What's in the box?
See,
No.
I don't think
But I
so
feel like-
because I feel like this almost ruined me on the.
No. I
animated
don't mean
series
this
after
the
I
bad
watched it.
story. I don't mean
No,
the
no,
bad
no,
like
I
love
know
story.
what you- I know
But
what you
the
mean.
noir feel, the
Noir feel,
50s
I know-
feel,
But
is
I
all the
feel
same.
I feel like series flesh out things better than like a one-off movie does.
Sure. Well, and you get
So
a lot
me
of like
going-
two-parters in that series. Like,
Right. So
yeah.
me going back to the series, I can better digest it to be like, okay, there's going to be movement somewhere. So, but like I said, I'm going to give it a go and I might review about it, talk about it, that kind of stuff. It could be good content. But yeah, 6. I give it a 6.
Did we hear the sound alert? I heard it in my headset. Did you guys hear it on the stream?
I have the stream muted because I can't hear myself.
That's fair.
Twice.
Oh, I don't.
Students,
I don't.
Let us know if you heard it.
Mine will echo if I have the volume up too loud. So
I don't either, but yeah, I just he all the movie things
Not having a
since
good day.
he publicly broadcast it, so I
Yeah.
feel okay talking about it. Somebody broke into his car yesterday, and he's had a hell of a time with it, and he just needed a day
You
off.
mean all
So
the movie things, right?
yeah, did I say? Who did I say?
I thought you said cell phone wall keys, but
no, he said all the movie things.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, just checking because I want to be right.
I'm a
yeah.
Nazi when it comes to this word stuff. Sorry, but
So-
I'm obsessed.
That's NOTSEE, not C, right? That's yeah.
There you go. You get it.
wow.
So anyway, yeah, he lives in
I am
Portland,
too.
and
Welcome.
terrible thing. So they did hear the sound alert, which is awesome. They are there for you guys to redeem, which is so cool that it worked. They do cost a few tickets, but hey, whatever. So we've rated this film. We're going to move on to The Kingsman. We do have 25 minutes to
Yes.
go, which is more than enough time to talk about most films. And this is The Kingsman. I'm going to move us over to the poster wall. This is the
60% of the time, it
I kinda
works
heard that
every
man.
time.
and there's another one.
It's not Kingsman. It's the King's.
The King's
Man.
Man. And it's funny because it's really just The Kingsman. This is an interesting film because it is a prequel, and with most prequels, what I generally complain about them, it's because there's too much known already for us to have any suspense. Like, it's hard to know what will occur. Will Wilkins, your sound drops will become weaponized by me. I will try to make as many as I can. Those are all Mickey, of course, so please have fun with them. I will try to add more every week. But anyway, this movie is a prequel, and it's a prequel that actually attempts to go far enough back in time to where it can't really touch the original material. And, he hasn't seen the movie, so he wants to bail. I understand. And again, please do, if you don't want to have us ruin it, we are going to talk about it all the way to the end, which means we're going to reveal the big reveal. And this movie had a big reveal, which was weird.
Spoiler alert, this leads to the Kingsman.
Right. Rasputin is an interesting thing that we'll talk about as well. But anyway, so I didn't really want to give my initial impression. I want to hear your guys' first. Although, no, there's only three of us.
First?
Yeah, there's three of us. We've each gone one first. So here we go.
Yeah.
And the first 30 minutes of this movie, I kept struggling. I kept trying to just want to get into it because I like Kingsman. I love the story. I love Mark Millar. I thought the Golden Circle was okay. There was some fun parts, but I didn't think it was amazing. But I thought, okay, Ralph Fiennes. We're looking at a hell of a cast, a stacked cast here, and I thought this could be fun. And immediately, some of the lines were a little much for me, and Gemma Edgerton shooting the gun or the knife out of Digimon Hansu's hand really bugged the crap out of me. Little things like that kind of kept adding up. Until I just sat down and just kept watching, and it sucked me in. I'm not going to say how much, and I'm not going to say what I really thought, but I ended up getting sucked in finally. That's my initial impression, that it was rough going getting into it.
I have to agree with you on that.
Well, give us your initial reaction then.
Okay. I guess I was just waiting to see if we were gonna
fight about it.
No,
say the same thing.
No, but yeah, for me, this was a very slow burn at the start. Like, if you go back and you think about the first Kingsman, the Secret Service, and the Golden Circle, they all have like this big amount of like action that kind of like picks up, and it's not. It has good pacing. Golden Circle, maybe not as much. I felt like I just wasn't really into the main villain for that one, but there were things that I just loved about that film. And Jeff Bridges being Jeff Bridges is just like, it's kind of like Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cage at this point. But you ended up liking the characters, and you could see the potential. But I will say, I was wondering when that potential was going to happen, and it took a long time for that. But then once it did, once you had that one, like that moment where like everything kind of turns on its head, like I was invested. But it was a very slow burn, and I think a lot of people that have complaints about this film probably didn't stick with it.
I agree with you.
And that's what I'm thinking about it. So yeah, my initial impression.
Black Girl Marvel.
Oh, it's on me. I agree. Slow burner.
Yep.
I don't like prequels because normally when people are when people do prequels, wow. Anyway, always got a hater. I feel like I've made it. Anyway, I never like prequels because prequels. Sometimes I feel like they're always written by somebody different who never paid attention to the first movie or the second movie, and so they miss out elements. So it's like, how are you a prequel? But if you forgot that this thing does this thing, so I initially went into this annoyed that there was a prequel because I love the first one. The second one was okay. It wasn't as great as the first one, but it was still like that kooky element that I liked. And then we come to this, and I was like, what is this story about this father and this son? I do not care.
Did he say Red Cross?
Like, okay, cause so for me, the only safe haven, not the only, but one of the safe havens that kept me going was Ray Fiennes, because he's an amazing actor, and he's Voldemort. He's got to love Voldemort, but he's an amazing actor, and it's his performance that really was like, okay, I'm gonna sit here and watch where he goes. I'm gonna sit here and watch where his character goes, because this has to go somewhere that I'm not seeing the vision in which I don't see the vision where we're going. And then eventually, spoiler alert, once his son died, I was like, now we can get to the movie, because Lord have mercy. Because I was just like, because one of the things I don't like about War of the Worlds is the son. You want to go off to fight at war, and you've been privileged your whole life. You don't know anything about war. So we get to this film, and his son wants to go off into the war so bad. It's like,
makes sense though.
No, it makes sense, because that's the world that you're living in, that's the era that you're living in.
And even the motto that they keep saying, like they kept saying,
exactly,
like God and country kind of thing.
But then it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, let him go. He died in the like coolest, most gruesome way ever. When he got shot, I verbally laughed, and I probably shouldn't have. And I'm happy.
You have to come to expect it with these films that someone's gonna die. Like,
I was disappointed that he died.
Honestly, I was a little disappointed, because he did such a. I wasn't disappointed. I was elated, but I was like, dang. I felt a little bad, because I was like, dang, bro did all this, made it back, got this for the sick, and bro got so paranoid that he shot him, like. But again, you
don't mess with traitors, like you don't mess with like.
But also you changed. But like, I was kind of lost though, because I was just like, wouldn't y'all know the faces of the people in y'all like company? Like, even
but the thing was, he took the name of the guy's friend. The guy.
No. I know that, but I've been.
Wouldn't the other 20 people in his platoon?
That's what I'm saying.
Know who he was?
Because he was able to tell that guy what to do, so he was a higher rank than the other guy. So wouldn't these other lower ranked ones know who he like? So I was just like, how you die, bro? Like, yeah. I was a little lost, but like I said, the movie kind of started when he died. But I will say
an hour and a half too late.
No, that's what I'm saying. I was just like, what are we? It was a lot of building. Like, I love world building, I love story building, but it was so much of it that it was just like, can we get to why I like the Kingsman and stuff? Can we get to something? So for me, the one thing I will say about Matthew Vaughn, fight scenes were immaculate. You wouldn't think in a prequel that they could outweigh the ones in the first film, but for me they did, because that whole Rasputin fight.
That Rasputin fight was pretty cool.
Was to me was beautiful to see, and I believe his name is pronounced Reese Irfan or Reese. I believe that's his name.
The lizard, Rasputin. Right? Isn't that the lizard?
The lizard, yeah, the lizard. He played Rasputin in such a way that I was like, I don't really know about Rasputin, because I ain't reading up on Russia history and things like that. But I was just like, is he gay? Did he like little boys? Like, I wanted to go research him just to see if they have accuracy.
This was one of my biggest complaints about the film, was the idea that they took real history and the struggles that real people have gone through and kind of trivialized it in order to have this story. So let's take the Tsar, for example. For one, the idea that the British king, that the Russian Tsar, and the German Chancellor were all cousins is absolutely laughable. Laughably lame. That's one of the things that took me out of the film in the beginning. And then you take something like the Russian Revolution and make it just a ploy by a Dr. Evil style panel of dipshits. That really bothered me as well. Like, I really started going, when they had the scene where they wouldn't show the Scottish guy, the British Scottish, that whole reveal bugs me too, because I'm like, who cares? Who cares? I don't care that they didn't show this guy's face for a year. There was nothing to establish.
But also you didn't establish him as somebody that I would
that
care
mattered,
for.
right? He wasn't the guy at the beginning, right? He wasn't the guy that killed his wife. that would have made more sense. That would have been better, but that guy died,
Or
so it
it would
didn't
have been
matter.
better if Ray Fiennes' character was the dude that we
Right,
didn't
something.
see.
Or don't hide him. Just show me the bad. But they did that Doctor Evil style. Let's hide the bad guys. I'm like, this trope is so 50s and dead.
No,
What are you
literally,
doing?
when
Like,
he got revealed, I was like, "Oh, it's him."
okay.
I was like, "Okay, why did you do this?" Like there were no, and then you go back and show us like what we missed, but it was like none of it was like red flag words. Like none of this was like, "Ooh."
You couldn't have figured it out. They didn't give us enough for us to figure it out. So it was no mystery.
No, like it was no mystery, and I was just like, is it the mother? Like that would have been cool if it was the mother. She's like, you left me for dead, and these
I was
people
under a
took care
pile
of
of people.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's something, but I was just like, I don't care about him.
Yeah. So the idea, though, that even because again, spoiler, this is for the very end, they add Hitler to the mix. Because some evil empire is what's in charge of Hitler, not this piece of shit that did what he did. And you're basically taking, in a weird way, you're almost taking some of the evil away from Hitler and Lenin and all these people by making it like,
evil that we had to face in this
I
world.
feel like I feel like the way I looked at it, they've always been evil. They just got recruited by evil agents.
I know, but then instead of it being that they were so freaking evil that they just did these awful things, somebody facilitated that for them.
Yeah,
and that takes away from the impact it had on the people that died because of these people. I think in a weird way, by doing it, you are slapping the Jewish community in the face by adding Hitler for fun at the end of the movie.
Oh yeah,
that's not a post-credit character. Like, sorry, y'all. Tasteless. Tasteless.
It's not gonna go anywhere.
Right.
Are we gonna do another one of these? Are we going, or are you just adding in to be like, oh,
shock factor?
So in their world, Hitler was a part of the bad Kingsmen's, and like, no, okay.
Yeah. It was unneeded. They just didn't.
So did we really? I mean, did we really need this prequel in the first place? And I'll be honest with you, because I feel like the first Kingsman film did a great job of explaining. Because honestly, I liked Conrad, but I knew he was going to die the moment I met him on the screen, and I don't know if anybody else felt that way. Because
it was either Conrad or the father. It was one or the other that had to die.
It had to be Conrad, because when Galahad made the comment about wealthy aristocrats who lost their sons during war, that they created this establishment, that's Conrad.
I hadn't seen Kingsman long enough. Like, I just watched this movie. I didn't walk in with a fresh watch of the others. I missed that. So good.
I haven't watched that for a long time.
But you caught that.
Good I've probably watched it like 37 times, like on just driving back and forth to work. Not driving and watching, but like listening.
Oh, okay.
I was like, okay.
Because I'm like, wait a second.
We here at The Real Study do not advocate driving and watching films.
No, but like that's something playing. Like literally, but literally, he says, wealthy aristocrats having no heirs, because of World War I. They created the Kingsmen for that specific purpose. And like, I'm sitting there like, okay, I'm liking Conrad, but I know he's going to die, but how is he going to die? And then when he died, I was like, man, that's messed up. Like that was really messed up.
Hilarious, but messed up.
Yes. Yeah. And it was like, but at that point it was like, okay, maybe we're actually going to get some movement now, because if you go on IMDb, and one of their top reviews is a 5 out of 10 rating, and it's called The King's Meh. And it complains about it specifically for this purpose, because it took 90 minutes for them to get to any like really sort of action.
Anything.
I mean, I love the Rasputin fight, but it was just too slow. And I mean, the character. I mean, we had a fantastic cast of characters with this film.
Yeah.
Just with was it with Shola? Was it Shola? How is
Shola? Jaima House's character.
Shola and Polly like stole the show for me.
I can do it if you gonna sequel off anything. Give me something about them two, because like Jaima House in this lane in this world was amazing. I enjoyed him as a character. It was great. I will say this though, when they talked about making a prequel, I was like, oh, are we gonna see Eggsy's dad and like his life and how he lost, like how he died, and then like it'll lead into the Kingsman, but
it'll be more of a Galahad film.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah. I was like, but they were like, nah, we gonna go back into the time.
I would have loved to see Merlin young too.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
And I did like that
Oh.
like the last scene I liked a lot. That the toast and the
Yeah, and like
names I
everybody
really
getting
liked
their
that a
names.
lot. But on
And
the
it's
flip
also
side,
cute because the son created it essentially as a
right?
child.
No,
Like
and I like that.
this was his like
Yeah,
brainchild, so
didn't
that
bother
was
me at all,
nice.
and it was cute that
Nice
he kind of
elements.
kept that going during some of
Mm-hmm.
the stuff that he did that got him killed. But the thing that bothered me was you so you throw that concept of I like the room and I like the end, but you go to the beginning of the movie where they show that room for the first time and they make a point of going, look at the room. I'm like, okay, it's the room from one. Like, I don't care. It's not
Also,
Star
this
Wars. Like
movie came
you're
out
not Star Wars.
8,000 years later than
Right.
the other film. Is just like
Well, here's my thing. Like they did the
relax.
they did the you saw the Kingsman building, you saw how they had everything set up, but it's like the Kingsman was a tailor, even through this movie. Like
Mhm.
it's a place, but I'm sitting there thinking like how did they inconspicuously dig an entire network of
The king.
like like what?
The king.
Yeah, they were
But
in with the king.
Yeah.
I just ugh.
There
They
are
were in
tons
with
of
the king.
tunnels actually under
To
London
me,
already before
Right.
that
but
era.
also look at the network. But look at the network of people that they've like amassed.
Mhm.
It to me, it wouldn't be. It's not like a secret of how they could keep stuff under wraps or how they would. They had people in place like everywhere. You know that.
I liked
That didn't
that.
really
I
bother me.
liked that they
Yeah, I like
used
that
the
too.
maids and the servants and the butlers
Hmm.
to
Because
figure
nobody
things
pays
out.
attention to
Brilliant. I
them.
did. So there's elements of
And
this movie that are really solid. And here's the thing: you were mentioning the writer, the same writer that did the screenplay for Kick-Ass, Kingsman, Kingsman's Golden
hmm
Circle, did this as well. So it's the same people,
hmm
and yet
hmm
it's almost like they're scraping the bottom of the of the idea barrel,
it's barrel. Yeah, they were. Yeah.
because
Well,
there's
there's
only so much. It feels like.
but this is a comic book movie. There are comic book, you know, concepts that you could run with this. I
Mhm.
mean,
Or just give us what we wanted. And Colin Firth, as a young man, living his life out here doing crazy stuff, leave
Wouldn't
that
that
to
have been
him.
better? That would have been so much better. So
Like he
I,
did
Daniel
wa- I
not
want to
leave
I
Daniel
that
want to
part.
film a
Bruhl
show.
Daniel Bruhl does a great job in the movie.
No, he
Um,
does.
everybody does a pretty good job. Brana isn't Kenneth Branagh in it as the as one
Pardon
of the
me.
characters for just a minute? I swear. And I know that of course Targaryen. I always forget the actor's name, and I'm sorry for that. The guy that plays Papa Targaryen is one of the main characters. I'm trying to look through the freaking list, and I'm kind of thrown. And then of course we see the guy that will do any comic book movie apparently in this film. He's going to be playing Craven. He's also Quicksilver. He's also
Taylor Johnson.
yeah. So he's in there. Although I'm not seeing him on the list, but he was the friend,
He was Lancelot. He was
right? The
the
original
Clifford
Lancelot.
Green,
Which I'm just like,
whatever.
dude, if they're like, if his agent says, I have a comic book, he goes, yes, yes, I'll take that, thank you, because that's what it feels like, which is fine. But the dude is ubiquitous in comic book movies now. Like he is Kick Ass,
But
he is
also, it's
Quicksilver,
like,
he is like, holy shit.
but also,
Like,
it's like when I saw his character, I was like, oh, like I wasn't like. I saw Daniel Bruhl character, and I was like, ooh,
right.
because I was like, oh, okay, let me see what he's gonna do. And I saw him, and I was just like, oh, he in this? Like, no disrespect to him, like he does his job, he does what he's supposed to do. But I was just like, all
I think
right,
he,
like,
well, one, he was Kick Ass, and so this is a Mark Millar product. The
Yeah.
same people, same production.
yeah. You
So I'm
work with
assuming
people
they were
like,
like, hey man, you want to be in another Millar
you got this
product,
little, you got this little role, ain't
Right.
that big? You got like 3 scenes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I think what wore me off of him was when he was in Godzilla with Elizabeth Olsen, because it's kind of weird them being siblings in the same year they were also a married couple, and people are just not able to get to like.
We all have a problem with Star Wars and having Luke kiss Leia after 45 years, but those two playing a married
no,
couple
right?
of brothers,
Oh
there's
my
no
God.
problems there. No
Yeah.
problems there. Yeah, that bothered me too. The Red Cross thing still sticks in my mind because there was like no need for it. Like, what was that? Like, to prove he was a pacifist? Couldn't he just been a pacifist without working for the Red Cross? Like,
No, it had to be
No.
established that it was the
so,
Red Cross.
but this is the kind of stuff with these kind of movies that drive me nuts. Is they're like, there's a thing in history that people know, and it's a catchphrase, and we'll just add it in. Like, saying that the Bolshevik Revolution was because the guy was in somebody else's back pocket totally defeats the concept of the Bolshevik Revolution. It's a weird, and the idea that the Tsar, like they just kind of capped it off by getting the Tsar and the family killed, which is one of those things in history that's both tragic for the kids in that situation, but also because they were evil, evil people. And so all of these things are trivialized in this film, like completely trivialized. And I don't know. I guess I want. This is why I like stories that are either, if they're in our universe, they're like Marvel, where they're completely a new world, where it's not our president, it's not our history. They have some things in common, but they're much more pop culture related rather than real history related.
Well, I mean, let's face it.
But you're not trying to like rewrite history though. Like,
Right.
so what you're saying is you don't want to like rewrite history. If you're going to establish something in this timeline, in this frame, take it for what it is. Maybe add some elements, kind of like a la like Umbrella Academy. No. Probably like not Umbrella Academy, probably, but like kind of like what's that, First Class or whatever the other was, where Magneto tried to curve the bullet to not hit JFK, but it's still like he tried to like, but it still hit him because he couldn't move it like fast enough. Like it's, you're dipping into history, but you're not like,
Or the comedian being the one that kills JFK.
yeah, you're not
I'm okay with that.
trivializing.
Yeah,
No, you're
it's
not
still a
trivializing.
bad thing.
It's still, yeah.
It shows how evil he really is. To me,
Yeah,
that
I
actually
understand.
drove the point home. But in this, they were kind of it was campy about,
yeah.
Hitler at the end was like, I'm Adolf Hitler. And I'm like, what,
Okay.
dude? Like, if they had not done that, this movie would have gotten such a higher rating from me. But
Well,
that
yeah, that was the
alone,
thing.
like,
So
I don't know.
Kingsman, the first Kingsman, kind of like crossed a little bit of a line too. I mean, they blew up Obama's head, like suggestively they did that.
That's true.
Because if you think about it, like all of the people that were microchipped, Obama was one of them, and like
They even faked his voice in the movie.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that's definitely implied that they killed the president. Wow.
Yeah, and the Queen, because at that point, because Elizabeth was the next on the thing, and you never hear about them like
It doesn't. I don't
incarcerating the
know.
Queen of England.
That's still modern times with people that we could mock politically at the time, and it doesn't change anything. But to
Yeah,
change
but-
our
but-
history with one of the worst genocides,
I'm not going to get on a thing,
yeah.
but like here's the thing though. Game of Thrones had a head that looked like George Bush, and people lost their mind. But then we blew up Obama's head in Kingsman, and I don't ever remember anybody talking about
I
it.
don't either. I
But
think
we-
everybody laughed.
We know why though, right?
There is that aspect. No, she's
Well,
not
that's
wrong
true.
at all.
That's all I'm gonna say. We know why.
Hey,
right?
whatever Kingsman.
Had it been a different president, we would want to know. Had it been in
Yeah.
2016 or
If it was Clinton, if it was Bush,
2007,
if it was-
right? It would have been very
know,
different.
it'd have been very different. But because of Obama
Mhm.
being who the color of his skin, just gonna throw that out there. Okay, some people were lost on what I was alluding to.
And of
Or
course,
I was
of
also,
course,
I
so
was
people.
also thinking possibly
Oh,
it was
yeah.
because of the fact that people don't get butthurt unless they're really upset because of how focused they are.
Mhm.
We're getting political. We shouldn't do that.
The movie is political.
Also,
Okay, we agree that we're talking about something that's relevant to the film.
Yes.
I didn't watch Game of Thrones. That's gonna be next on my list to watch one day if I can get past that first episode. But anyway, are we talking about Charles Dance?
Oh, so Charles Dance, yes, that's who I was talking about.
Charles Dance?
The freaking
Oh, okay.
the bad guy from
Because he's the bad guy
Last
from-
Action Hero
Oh, from the Golden Child.
and the Golden Child. That's right. He
I
played the
love
bad
him.
guy all the way through the '90s for us
When I saw
because he
his
was the
face,
demon,
I was
right?
like,
Because he has the
"Ooh."
wings
Yeah,
and the
I was
yeah.
like, I was like, look at this guy. I was like, he's still acting. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, no, I love him. But he plays the bad guy in the Last Action Hero that figures out the ticket. You know.
Yeah, he is. Yeah.
He's amazing. When he came back to play
Yeah.
Targaryen, I was like,
Bad guy.
I love this guy. So yeah, I'm with you there. So it is basically the end of the real study.
It is.
So we could just do a quick review on this. My kid self would have tried to watch
Great.
this. My parents wouldn't have let me. Very R-rated. There's even a whole bunch of F-bombs,
It is.
seemingly for no reason.
For no reason.
They were just like, we're British, let's say fuck.
Honestly,
I had to get it
feel
in
like
there.
this was during like Captain America times, and I'm not saying they didn't cuss back then, but they really kind of didn't. They were very much like a clean talk.
And they're supposed to be
culture.
gentlemen, right? So gentlemen
Right,
don't
yeah,
say
yeah.
fuck. Like, come on.
All right,
Oh,
right.
Twice
Hey, he did it.
in the jar, my friend. In the jar.
so here's the thing. There are PG-13 movies that have two. The Martian is one of them, and we've even reviewed that movie. So I'm gonna call this my The Martian.
Moving goalpost, man.
But what would you give it? What would snippets now give this film?
If you I want to put this caveat. If you remove that crap at the end, I would probably give this a 6.5 because I think it's watchable, and I think I would watch it again if sat down and somebody's like, "Hey, you want to watch King?" I would probably be like, "Let's check it out." I want to watch the Rasputin fight, and not Colin. Ralph Fiennes is great, and it was great to see him as not a no-nose person for a while. So. And just a British guy. Like he was just a dude. He was just a guy from where he was from for once. Like that's just not often for him.
He did look weird though.
But because of the crap with the history and what they did with the Hitler crap at the end, this is a 3. Like I really hate that they did that. It bugs me that much. So 3.
I love that it bugs you that much.
That's good.
Go ahead.
I love that.
Whoever goes, go.
Okay, I guess I'll go.
I'm trying to just be weird. Woo, getting wild. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. I'll give this film a 7 because I probably would watch it again, but it's not like a 7 in the sense of like, oh, it was good. It's just that usually on my scale of movies, 7s are rewatchable. Anything lower than that is not rewatchable for me. I probably would rewatch this again, but it would be quite some time. And my kids self rarely had supervision when it came to movies. Probably would have watched this. Probably would have fell asleep in the first 45.
Will you
minutes.
rewatch it in order next time? This Kingsman Circle?
Honestly, if I do decide that I'm in the mood of a Kingsman type of mood, because certain moods happen. Because I be having my Twilight phase. I be like, oh, I want to watch some corny. So, I probably will watch it like in the order. So like, Kingsman, Secret Service, Circle.
Nice, Mr. Marvelite.
Yeah. So the revisionist history thing is definitely a problem for me. Also the Oxford not brogues, like that kind of bothered me. Like it made sense in the first film, but then like I'm like,
we're Oxfords, not rogues.
Right.
I'm like,
no. But this is what bothers me. This is what really bothers me. As I was really waiting for somebody to say manners maketh the man, and the person that said it was the evil guy. So y'all took an evil guy's
motto
and put it. I was like, what?
Yeah, that makes sense because one of their own became an evil trash panda. So
Well, just because it was a good statement. I mean, I probably would have like. It's kind of like there are some things that villains have said in movies and stuff, and I'm like, I'll remember that thing. But
I would have loved it if like maybe the father said it to him or somebody or maybe Show listened. But you're telling me you took the moniker of the guy that tried to like wipe out all these dignity. Like, come on. I was like, what?
It bothered me too.
Yeah, but see, like the whole Oxford's not rogue thing, that bothers me to the level of Nick Fury talking about how he trusted a guy and he lost an eye, and we find out it was a interstellar cat. Yeah, it was a Flurkin. The Flurkin, stupid story. And I get why Fury did that, because he didn't want to look like stupid that, I had a cat scratch me from my face. But regardless, that kind of bothered me. I would say this is a 6 for me. I will probably watch it again eventually, mainly because I was not as paying attention as much to the first half of the film because it just bored the crap out of me.
Yeah.
Stick with it. It's worth watching through to the end.
Yes, it is. Like I got to the point where I'm like, I need to do something while I'm watching this. And so I was cooking while the first half of the film went, and then
I was cooking.
Then all of a sudden I'm like, okay, now I want to pay attention. I literally stood in the kitchen with my face in the phone. I watched it on the phone. But I love this franchise, but it's still a 6 for me. You can't beat that first film, and that's what I always say about like movies, like franchises. It's really hard when a sequel or a prequel can beat that first film, and it rarely happens.
It's because Taron and Colin brought it. The chemistry was between them. Mm-hmm. It had nothing to do with the story that they thought it was them. Yeah. And since there was no Colin really in the second, like of course he is, but he's not. And Taron's older, different characters to play off of. It just didn't. There was the chemistry was very different, and that's why I think that.
But also the first film, you had a fantastic villain with Valentine. You had an entire world that you were opening and expanding, and they went deeper in the second film, which was great. But then, like, they undid all of it, and then the villain wasn't that strong. And then this one,
the American stuff wasn't needed either.
Yeah.
It just I'm not watching a British spy guy.
Honestly, like, we got Pedro Pascal in this universe. That's great, but like, I like Halle Berry a whole lot more, and I really was so sick of the misogyny with it.
Yeah, no,
So-
there's
But
a lot,
honestly,
but,
for me, I don't mind an American version because it's kind of like Hogwarts. Like it's like Ilvermorny is like the American version of Hogwarts, and I don't mind that. But also, it was like typical, like stereotypical American. It was like, howdy y'all with the hats and the whips and it was just like, what year is this? Like, what are like
And
even
you
though I enjoyed
had-
that film, but it was just like, what are we doing?
Americans have to be rednecks. That's the rule.
We have to be redneck. Like,
Right.
there's no other type of American for you to know that we're American is if we're not howdy y'all. You know,
Yeah,
I'm just
no.
like,
I'm with you.
all
I'm with you. So that said, we will be doing some more reviews in the future. We are going to be doing an A24 episode soon. I'm certain we're going to be having some more guests. There's actually a few that I've already talked to that are lined up, and I'm trying for even more lofty guests. By the way, if you are a real student and you do want to see the likes of someone like Straw Hat Goofy come on the show, please don't hesitate to tag him or reach out to him so that we're not the only people doing so, because I don't want to be the only weirdo going, come on, Straw Hat, come on The Real Study. But I would love that. And I think you guys wouldn't mind sitting here talking to Juju while we talk movies. I think that would be a blast. So that's on my list. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it's a wish list. There are a few other people, including the actor from the movie Happy Death Day, who will be joining us. He was the killer in the film. His name is Rob Mello, and he'll be on the show probably next month, considering we're almost at the end of this month. So look forward to those, as well as having Brian back, all the movie things. Yeah, it's been The Real Study. I don't know about rating. I haven't even looked at it yet. Let's look. Who can we rate? You guys did give your review. Yeah, you did. Okay. You did give your reviews. I
Yeah,
wanted to make
your
sure.
bestie's on. If you want to raid the Raven Arm, we always raid him.
We do always rate him. That's why I was trying to see if maybe there was somebody else. Wait, they think I'll like these? Okay, that's fine. I didn't ask. Do you find that to be annoying with services where they're just like, we think you'll like this? And I'm like, I didn't ask you to give me that category.
Yeah, no, I get that.
It just seems a little odd to me. So we've got Bob Ross, which I don't think we can raid them. The Raven Armed, yes. Let's see, who else? Music people, lots of music people. Sheldon's on.
Let's rate Sheldon.
Let's rate Sheldon.
Let's do it, eh?
Let's do it.
Sheldon _ 7687. So hang on with us as we raid Sheldon. You guys have been awesome. This has been The Real Study.
Hey guys, thanks for being here. We appreciate you. You guys are amazing.
That's not an invalid name.
It is because you didn't spell it right.
Apparently not. Raid. Okay, good.
Well, while you're trying to figure that out, I'll tell you this: my 7-year-old convinced my mother to watch Venom, and he's never seen the film. She thought he had. So
I love it so much.
yeah, she actually liked it.
It's a good, like, romantic, like, buddy. It's not a really bad movie. It's not, like, overly gruesome or anything like that.
So you know why those Venom movies suck?
Because it's Sony.
No, that's part of it. But no, the only reason we even got Woody Harrelson as Carnage is because the same director that did Zombieland, both of them did those movies. So he was like, "Hey, Woody, come do a part for me." We didn't need that. So
But you like Zombieland.
yeah, Zombieland is great,
Okay.
but that's Zombieland. Anyway, we're raiding. You guys have fun.
Bye.
I enjoyed both Venoms.
Really?
Yeah. Because
I
I
didn't
feel
hate
like
them. I just wasn't.
because one, they're of a